Mais là, aujourd'hui, on apprend que tous les partis politiques, à l'exception du Parti conservateur du Québec, vont prendre que des candidats vaccinés pour l'élection. Et si les candidats ne sont pas vaccinés, ils ne pourront pas être candidats de la CAQ, du Parti québécois, du Parti libéral du Québec et de Québec solidaire. Mais là, aujourd'hui, on apprend que tous les partis politiques, à l'exception du Parti conservateur du Québec, vont prendre que des candidats vaccinés pour l'élection. Et si les candidats ne sont pas vaccinés, ils ne pourront pas être candidats de la CAQ, du Parti québécois, du Parti libéral du Québec et de Québec solidaire.
Good afternoon, everyone. I had to start with something that's not going to turn everyone's respective stomach. That was Eric Duhem, the leader. I just got a notification for a Viva Clips highlight, which is going to interfere with the live stream that I'm conducting right now. Viva, get your stuff together, man. I was just uploading the standalone interview with Jim Karahalios of Ontario's New Blue Party from yesterday, posting the standalone clip on Viva Clips so that people can share it with greater ease, segmented off from the 3.5-hour live stream in its entirety. Tomorrow is voting day in Ontario provincial elections, and it would be nice for the newer parties that don't get the media coverage that the legacy parties get from the legacy media, that they get some exposure. So hopefully, if yesterday's stream did nothing else, it got Jim Karahalios and the message of the New Blue Party out there. Go to Viva Clips, share that clip around. People, that was Eric Duhem, the intro video for today. I put it up there so that you can also get a little refresher in French for those of you who may be new or who may know the language but haven't practiced it in a while. And for those of you who don't speak French, it's a beautiful language. Eric Duhem, the leader of Quebec's Conservative Party, in a clip that Alexa Lavoie from Rebel News posted. And if you don't understand French and you didn't read the captions in time, he is saying, and I haven't seen it confirmed anywhere else or elsewhere, I haven't looked, but I also have no reason to doubt that Eric Duhem is not telling the truth. Dude's not going to go out and lie on something that is easily verifiable. According to Eric Duhem, all of the provincial parties in Quebec, sorry, I bit my tongue and it still hurts, are requiring their candidates to be fully vaccinated for the next provincial election. Coalition Avenir du Québec, the CAQ, the Liberals, what's the other one? Not the Bloc, it's PQ, Parti Québécois. You got to be, you want to run for with the party, you got to be vaccinated. As far as I'm concerned, absolutely unlawful, absolutely discriminatory, absolutely unconstitutional. These are government bodies discriminating against civilians, against citizens. Absolutely, in my mind, clearly unlawful. The only question is, does anyone in those respective parties even care? You know, you need an interested person who's going to go take this to court with all that entails. Who's going to do that? These parties are ideologically homogeneous parties, and it's reached critical levels of absurdity. Am I actually surprised at this point? Asks Fezador. No, I'm not surprised. I'm just disappointed. All right, standard disclaimers. First of all, we are not live on Rumble today, at least not for this one right now, because we have the stream set up for tonight with Dinesh D'Souza talking about 2,000 Mules and other things. We're going to start off on both YouTube and Rumble and then move over exclusively to Rumble so we can actually have the meaningful discussion. But Rumble, for now at least, unless I'm an idiot, which is entirely possible, it does not seem that I can have two streams where one has already been set up. So the stream for tonight has been set up on Rumble, and I can't seem to stream at the same time when there is a stream set up for the future. So I'm going to actually message the team at Rumble and see if that's my mistake or something that they need to work on at Rumble. But bottom line, tonight's stream is going to be exclusively on Rumble. Right now, we're not on Rumble because I can't seem to run a stream live while one is set up for the future. And Afternoon feeds, so standard disclaimers, super chats, you know the rule, 30% goes to YouTube. If you don't like that, ordinarily we would be simultaneously streaming on Rumble. They have the Rumble rants. They take 20%, so better for the creator, better for the platform. YouTube has, what's the word? Unlocked a feature to my channel, super thanks. So if you're not around live to give a super chat, if you wanted to, after the stream is over, you can give a super thanks. Whatever, best place to follow, support the channel, support our venture, vivabarneslaw.locals.com, where Robert and I put up a lot of exclusive content. We have an amazing community, and it's good stuff. Hold on, Frank Barron. I don't know that Eric Duhaime is a dishonest politician. Shocker. Who said Eric is a dishonest politician? I have not seen it to be dishonest, although I have an open mind when it comes to politicians. So today, look, we're all waiting for this freaking Johnny Depp verdict to come down so the world can move on. I'm not doing one of these dedicated day streams to waiting. There's a number of people doing that, doing it better, doing it more thoroughly. Ricade is live. Emily D. Baker is live. Legal Bites is live. Law and Crime, running reruns, they're live as well. But if there is a verdict, I'm obviously going to go live to that verdict. But yeah, some of you think the Johnny Depp thing is a distraction. Some of you think it's a waste of time. And I respect that. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I understand how people feel that way. I still think there is good law to be learned from it. And we're going to start with two of those stories in a second, because I see a super chat. Freedom for Canada says, I now know without any doubt who I will vote for. I think I know who you're talking about. Freedom Canada. Freedom for Canada. Thank you. There is still law to be learned, even in the circus of the Johnny Depp trial. Two interesting legal stories coming out of that case. One was that, the jury submitted questions yesterday. And again, be interested or be totally disinterested with the Johnny Depp trial. Having watched it, it opens your eyes to what the litigation process is, what courtroom is like, what a jury trial is like. Yesterday, the big news of the day, for those covering it, was that the jury came back with a question to the judge. Interesting, by the way. When the jury's in deliberations, and for those of you who don't know, before the jury goes into deliberations, they get jury instructions, and the jury instructions give them, all of the details, all of the information, instruct them as to how they are to render their decision, what they are to consider, what the legal questions are, what the evidentiary burden is in order to get to those legal questions. And they go into deliberation, and it takes as long as it takes. If it's Michael Sussman, an individual who's dead to rights because he objectively lied to the FBI in the context of an investigation, what did the jury deliberate for in Sussman? They rendered the verdict yesterday, the acquittal of a man who, by all accounts, dead to rights. They rendered that acquittal in less than a day. Anyways, it looks like the jury in Depp is taking it a little more seriously. And they asked a question yesterday, which is cause for speculation, but I think is a darn good indication of where they're going. Are we looking at the same? Washington Examiner. Here we go. Let me make sure we can all see the same thing. It's interesting. Set aside the substance. This is interesting. Jury is out. Jury's deliberating. Jury has a question. They come back to the judge and they say, we need an answer to this question so we can go back to deliberating on the multiple questions, the multiple facets in the Johnny Depp trial, people. There's Johnny Depp's claim for $50 million for defamation. There is Amber Heard's, call it a counterclaim. It's her claim for defamation against Johnny for $100 million. In the same suit, they're all together. Johnny's suing her. She's countersuing him. And so there's a lot of complex legal questions. Back in the day on this channel, we were interested in defamation. I think we've exhausted the legal question of defamation in the Nicholas Sandman, Covington Catholic kids lawsuits. But now the jury is deliberating and they have a question and they came to the judge with the question and briefly going through an article, deliberation, yada, yada, yada. Okay, let's go to this. How do I get, hold on one second, people. Let me just go here, close that, minimize so I can see we see the same thing. Okay, here we go. The jury in the Johnny Depp Amber Heard defamation case asked a question Tuesday after hours of deliberating. Yesterday was Tuesday. So the Sussman case, they took... because Monday was a holiday. Monday was Memorial Day in the United States. So Sussman didn't even take a full day to acquit. Jurors wanted to know, and this is interesting, if they are to determine whether Heard made defamatory claims in her entire op-ed or just the headline. So it's very interesting and very good for Johnny and looking very bad for Amber. After some discussion between Heard and Depp's legal teams, they agreed that the jury should just consider the headline. The jury was subsequently instructed to leave out the rest of the op-ed with the exception of certain excerpts that they must consider. For those who haven't been following this trial religiously, if you're one of the few, bear in mind, do remember, the legal questions, set aside that it's a circus and a distraction and everybody wants to pay attention to the who and the treaty and the Sussman and whatever. The legal questions in this case were several. The first one is, were the statements false? Were the statements at issue, the impugned statements, false? And some of you may be familiar. There were 3 statements suggesting that Amber Heard was a survivor of domestic violence, sexual abuse, and that she felt the wrath of society when she came out. There were 3 impugned statements and the headline. One of the legal questions is, right off the get-go, are the statements false? Because if the statements are true, substantially true, truth is a ultimate defense to defamation. The second question would be, and will be, were they of and about Johnny Depp? One of the legal questions that people were floating around, Amber Heard never specifically mentioned Johnny Depp by name, therefore it can't be defamation because she didn't mention Johnny Depp. Not so much. Of and about, would the community know who is being referenced in the statements, even if they don't mention someone by name? Someone comes out and says that short dude in his basement with the fro who makes law videos, X, Y, and Z defamatory false statements. Doesn't matter if they don't name me. If everyone in the community knows who they're talking about, of and about, sufficient. So were the statements defamatory? Were they of and about Johnny Depp? Did they cause prejudice? Now you can have actual damages or nominal damages. In this particular case as well, were they made with malice? And defining malice to the jury is one of the instructions to them. Malice is knowing it was false or reckless disregard for the falseness of the statement. Did she know that she was lying when she said it, or was it just so reckless in terms of verifying whether or not it was true or false when she made it that it qualifies as malice? So with all that said now, all of you, I presume, are very familiar with this case anyhow. The jury comes back and says, do we need to consider the entire article or just the headline? Now, why I say this is a very good indication for Johnny is that if you only needed, you would only ask this question if you thought that the body of the article was not defamatory, but the headline was, where you could dissociate what you thought was defamatory from the part that you thought might not be defamatory. So if the article includes the headline, you don't ask the question. If you think the article, which doesn't contain an allegedly defamatory statement, does not include the headline, you ask the question. So I think at this point now, I think Johnny Depp is actually going to win this trial based on that question. And then they say, look, you take the 3 statements that the team highlighted. You don't have to take the article in its entirety. So for the jury now, the bar is even less. If it had to be the entire article, maybe they're going to say, no, the entire article, I'm not convinced. But the headline, yeah. Or maybe they're going to say the headline, no, but we thought the body was defamatory. But if we don't have to consider the body, then, but not the way they've asked it. The jury was instructed to leave out the rest. They agreed the jury should just consider the headline and the 3 impugned statements. The excerpts include, then 2 years ago, I became a public figure representing domestic abuse, and I felt the full force of our culture's wrath for women who speak out. And, quote, I had the rare vantage point of seeing in real time how institutions protect men accused of abuse. It's very interesting when you view this always through the lens of confession through projection. Depp's attorney, Benjamin Chu, filed a motion Tuesday to strike a comment made by Heard's legal team. Okay, this is the second question. So that's the first question. First interesting thing, jury comes back with a question that seems to me to indicate they consider the headline defamatory, but they weren't sure if that's included in the body, which it seems they did not necessarily find as defamatory as the headline. And there was that legal question as well when she tweeted out the article. Was it defamatory by virtue, even if the statement were defamatory, is tweeting an article an act of defamation? And there's interesting case law on that. Just sharing a defamatory statement, not necessarily defamatory. Sharing a defamatory statement with a comment that reaffirms the defamatory statement is defamatory. And that was the whole issue with Amber Heard, is she tweeted out the article. She didn't just tweet out the article. She tweeted out the article with the commentary saying, proud of this piece, yada, 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 reaffirming what would have been the defamatory statements in the article. Thus, losing the defense to, all I did was share the article. I didn't comment on the article. Okay. Question number one, of interest. Learn or don't learn from it. The second question, apparently they made the defense. Amber Heard's team made a controversial statement in their closing arguments that Depp's team wants struck from the record. Depp's attorney, Benjamin Chew, filed a motion Tuesday to strike a comment made by Heard's legal team during closing arguments in which they claimed that the jury's, quote, decision in this case would send a message to every victim of domestic abuse everywhere. Let's see this here. Interesting. We're seeing the same thing. Oh, no, we're not, because I don't have it here. Check this out. Is it going to work? Well, they want that statement to be struck because it might taint the jury in its deliberation process as to what they're adjudicating on here. Are they trying to send a message to victims everywhere, or are they trying to adjudicate on this particular case, on the merits of this case? See if I can't see. Oh, yeah, there we go. And let's go to the side here. Plaintiff John C. Depp's objection to improper argument and motion for a curative instruction and revised special verdict form. Through and through counsel hereby moves this honorable court to 1. Strike defendant's inappropriate argument made during closing argument on May 27. 2. Instruct the jury to disregard the defendant's inappropriate argument. And 3. Revise the special verdict form with respect to Mr. Depp's affirmative claims against Ms. Heard to conform to the language adopted by the court in the jury instructions. So interesting. Strike the comments. Inappropriate arguments. It's always interesting. Like, the damage is done in law. The jury heard the statements already. Whether or not you can make a point by actually getting the judge to grant the motion and strike those comments, strike them. It's like telling the jury, forget what you heard, pun intended, forget what you heard, pretended you didn't hear it, but you heard it. Now, the question is going to be, if you heard it and it gets struck by the judge, are you going to judge Heard's team more negatively, or are you going to judge Depp's team more negatively to try to have that statement removed? Is someone trying to hide something? Or are you going to think perhaps that a team tried something ugly to taint the process, to change the question at law, to make you adjudicate on emotion and not on facts and evidence? Let me just see here. Okay, I'll get to that in a second. Struck is more powerful. It's we'll see. I think even just making the motion, even if it gets dismissed, arguing that they've made improper arguments in closing, I think it'll play with the jury, who might, if they're already inclined to think that this team has been playing fast and loose with the truth. So anyways, that's what's going to happen. That's where we're at right now. I'm in the background. I've got it running on. That's me live. I don't need to see me live. I want to see Johnny Depp live and see if this trial comes up. If there's a verdict, I got to say, I will not be quite as nervous as I was during Rittenhouse, or quite as nervous as I was listening to Tamara Litch bail hearing. It's going to be interesting nonetheless. See where this goes. I now stand fully corrected. At the beginning, I started off from the beginning saying Johnny should not have even taken this lawsuit. He lost in the UK. I thought Johnny had much dirtier skeletons, or much more bony skeletons, or many more bony skeletons in his closet than it seems he had based on the evidence that was actually adduced. I thought Johnny Depp was a worse person, or not a worse. Let me rephrase that. This is not a judgment on the person. I thought Johnny Depp, given his lifestyle, would have more dirt in his closet, more skeletons in his closet than he actually had from someone who threw everything and the kitchen sink at Johnny. I thought he would actually have had bona fide, very bad things, concrete evidence of very bad things. Not a 35-year-old story from an ex-girlfriend that he threw a bottle in Vegas, when they were dating 35 years ago. Not the worst evidence of Johnny's direct bad behavior, him smashing the cabinets after he either found out that he lost tens of millions of dollars or his mother had passed away. I forget. People seem to think he was smashing the cabinets after the morning he found out he had lost tens of millions or hundreds of millions of dollars. That, in my mind, was probably one of the worst, the most damning pieces of evidence that they actually successfully adduced during the trial. I thought he would have embarrassing, objectively degenerate, concrete evidence of, unjustifiable conduct. They didn't have it. So not only did Johnny Depp not look as bad as I thought he was going to look, because they didn't even have the evidence of what I thought would have been some very bad, embarrassing, compromising behavior. They had no evidence to actually substantiate any of the claims that Amber Heard made above and beyond a few pictures, very questionable pictures, interpret them the way you want, and some pictures of Johnny sleeping. So I thought it was going to be a hung jury. Maybe a few members that, in order for it to be a hung jury, you just need to not have unanimity. But now, seeing this question, do we have to consider the entire article to be defamatory, or just a small portion of it in the headline? I like him even more. I got to tell you something. Me too. Me too. Because I really thought he was there were some bad things. I really thought there'd be actual evidence that he was abusive, either like outright verbally abusive with the people around him. Dude, I appreciate he pays his bodyguards. I appreciate he pays his employees. The people who were surrounded Johnny, by and large, had nothing bad to say about him. And his demeanor during the trial was good, objectively good. If you're looking at it from how did one present themselves, knowing the entire world was watching them. Okay, so that's it. So that's the Johnny Depp. We'll see what happens. But I would now say, although I did say the same thing after the Chauvin trial. I said, my goodness, I started off thinking this guy was dead to rights as well, totally guilty. The defense raised a reasonable doubt. So I changed my mind, and I, like every time I bet on a fight, and I don't actually bet, every time I pick a fighter in UFC and I change at the last minute, I'm always wrong. So let's just see if this trend reverses now. I'm changing at the last minute. I've seen the entire trial, seen all of the evidence. I unequivocally say that I was wrong, or did not. I was predicating my opinion on evidence that did not ultimately get adduced. Johnny Depp did not come out looking bad in this trial. He actually came out looking very good. I still thought it might have been a hung jury based on this question. I don't think so anymore. So we'll see where it happens. We'll see what happens. Enough with the Johnny Depp. Eric Hunley, America's Untold Stories, unstructured podcast. He's popping on at 1 o'clock. We're going to talk some stuff. Let me get to Canadian stuff just before Eric gets here. They're weaponizing everything. The government, the people who consider themselves to be government actors, acting for and on behalf of the team that they think they want to be a part of, weaponize everything. Justin Trudeau weaponizes legislation, weaponizes the media, weaponizes social media, weaponizes the prosecutorial process. I mean, weaponizes everything, always under the pretext of protecting, keeping you safe, for your own benefit, yada, yada, yada. Weaponizing everything. In Canada, as in the US, I mean, the US has its same problems that we have in Canada. My perception from where I am here is that Americans, at the very least, a substantial portion of the American population aren't putting up with it and are very much vocally objecting to it and fighting against it. Whereas in Canada, all too many people say, that right I don't really care that much about that right. So I'm good with it. I don't, I'm not into firearms. I don't care about that. So go ahead, confiscate all of them. As far as I'm concerned, I'll call the police. I don't hunt. I don't live on a farm. So I don't really care about that. So, the government can infringe on that right. Oh, shutting down businesses. I'll be, not shutting down my business. I don't really care. Oh, I'm sorry. They're making kids get vaccinated to play sports. Oh, I don't have kids. I don't really care. Or my kids are still too young, so it doesn't concern me yet. Oh, wait, they're coming after my language laws. They're coming after my language in my province with language laws. Oh, well, I have rights. I have charter rights. This is how it works everywhere. It's like, it's the old poem. I don't know who he is. At first, they came for the labor union, but I didn't care because I was in a labor union. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to fight. We've been living in a country where, blocking the unvaccinated 12 and up from planes and trains. I don't care. I went ahead with it. I got vaccinated. Doesn't affect me. I don't have kids. I don't have a small business. But now you've come and you've told me that I can't speak my language. Oh, you locked me in my house for 5 months. I don't really care. I don't have a nightlife. I'm a married man. I don't go out anyhow. Doesn't bother me. I'm comfortable. I have my house. I have my TV. I'm fine. I don't care. Oh, but now they've come after a right that I do care about, and all of a sudden I'm up in arms about charter rights. So that. Trudeau has been weaponizing everything in Canada. But once everything gets weaponized, and Barnes and I have talked about it, they weaponize the ethics board. They weaponize the licensing of professionals. And, I had Keith Wilson on. Keith Wilson is an attorney. He's acting, he's not with the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms, but he's representing people from the convoy. It happens in the States when they don't like you politically, they come after your license. Happened with Giuliani. Happened with I'm going to forget her name. It starts with an S. Oh, I'm totally Sidney Powell. It happened with a number of the lawyers who represented Trump or Trump entities. They come after your license with ethics complaints, with complaints to the board of whatever your professional body is. Well, they're doing it in Canada as well. This is from the CBC, state-funded CBC. Let's just see. We're seeing the same thing here. Okay, good. Hold up. I saw an interesting chat there. Yeah. Well, Ansu, we're a little bit past that point for a great many people, but they're doing it in Canada. Code of conduct complaint filed against convoy lawyer. And it's a very interesting thing. This is like the wrap-up smear that we saw in the Johnny Depp trial. Just to, you can learn things mutatis mutandis. In the Johnny Depp trial, one of the most poignant, let me just bring this up for 1 second. One of the most poignant testimonies that I drew from that trial was the TMZ guy. And we all knew what they were getting at with the questions, but they were placing the dots there, but they couldn't connect them because connecting them would be objection, calls for speculation. Amber Heard always wears makeup whenever she leaves the house. Amber Heard, it's her morning routine. She always wanted to hide the bruises, except the one morning when she went to court on an ex parte domestic violence restraining order, where she happened to have gotten, what did she say? Not bombarded, but she got, what's the word I'm looking for? Paparazzi was outside. She came out of the courtroom and she was mobbed by paparazzi. How did they even know she was there? How did they know that she was there at that date for the court hearing? Sometimes they're public, sometimes they're not. Sometimes when you file these emergency orders, they go on a public docket, and if people are looking at that docket, they'll find it. Somehow, Amber Heard leaving the courthouse on this ex parte urgent DVRO, mobbed by paparazzi. Well, they called this TMZ guy up and they said, they got this guy to testify. They were receiving anonymous tips about certain events, one of which was Amber Heard going to court for this DVRO. And, they said, and they got the shot as she left. And they didn't piece together how you got it, how they got notice of it, but we can piece it together in our minds. It's the wrap-up smear where they say, I'm going to set this up. I'm going to call the press. The press is going to come cover it. They're going to run with the story. Mission accomplished. we've got an ethics complaint, and the CBC is reporting on it. So, I'm just putting those dots out there. And to quote Eric Hunley and Mark Robert, you can connect them as you deem fit. But we have the CBC funded by the federal government to the tune of $1 billion a year, reporting on an ethics complaint. Typically, they're not anonymous, but typically they're confidential. But we'll see here. At least they're confidential until they become, until they are approved and there's a hearing. And even then, sometimes they can be. Code of conduct complaint filed against Convoy lawyer. Ottawa human rights lawyer filed complaint with Law Society of Alberta. Listen to this. Let's just, I don't know if they mean Ottawa as in federal or Ottawa as in provincial Ontario, but an Ottawa lawyer is filing a complaint with the Law Society of Alberta. People should be asking some questions right now. A lawyer who was part of the legal team that represented some of the Freedom Convoy organizers is the subject of a complaint to the Law Society of Alberta. Keith Wilson, I interviewed him. Fantastically intelligent. There are people who have the stomach for litigation, and there are those who don't. I say this with humility because it's sort of I was good at it, but I didn't have the stomach for it. I literally, it upset my stomach. Keith Wilson, I think he's smarter than me. I think he's sharper than me. I think he's more aggressive than me. And I think he's actually got the stomach, and he's doing it, and he's doing it well. And the poop that he's putting up with just to practice his profession in the manner that he thinks honest and ethical. This is what happens. You represent the wrong people. Lawyers from another province go and file a complaint against you in your own province. Richard Warman, an Ottawa human rights lawyer, alleges Wilson violated his professional code of conduct and has filed an official complaint with the Law Society. Is it one of those Amber Heard, I'm filing the complaint and then anonymously sending it to the CBC so the CBC reports on it? I don't know if these are actually supposed to be confidential, so maybe they are public. Even then, sharing public information that's totally obscure that no one would have ever known about but for the fact that someone shares it, a distinction arguably with a minor difference. JCCF's president, John Carpe, is already under a code of conduct investigation for having hired a private detective to follow a judge who was presiding over one of the Justice Centre's cases last year. By the way, any excuse for Trudeau's subsidized media is a good excuse to bring this story up again. Last year, Carpe, in a moment of, I'd say, whether or not it was even illegal or unethical, it was, what's the word? Ill-advised. Ill-advised. I know what Carpe, and I know what he was thinking. I just, ill-advised. In the context of a file where, they're dealing with their clients being persecuted for alleged violations of the Health Act edicts of the various provinces. Well, Carpe, said, I'm going to hire a private investigator and see if the judge or the prosecutors or anyone involved in persecuting these people are themselves not violating the rules themselves in their spare time. Got busted, unequivocal apology. And I guess he's facing an ethics complaint, and predictably so. But, CBC, there will never not be a good reason for the CBC to bring this up whenever they can. Oh, let's see here. Trudeau compared to Schmittler. In the letter of complaint dated February 25, 2022, and obtained by Radio-Canada. Oh, by the way, Radio-Canada is the French version of CBC. So it's the CBC and Radio-Canada, state-funded entities. They're governed by the Broadcast Act or the Broadcasting Act, the Canada They're governed by law. They're crown entities. They're funded with our taxpayer dollars to the tune of $1+ billion annually, not including COVID ads, not including other stuff. I don't know. How did Radio-Canada obtain it? I'm curious. Warman writes that Wilson posted, quote, material inciting police officers to disobey their oath to uphold and enforce the law because it would benefit his clients. Okay, interesting. We'll get back to that. Let me just see something here. Okay, good. Oh, sorry. Hold on. Let me star this super chat, and I'll get back to it. Warman points to a tweet posted by Wilson showing a video of an Edmonton police officer who is supporting the truckers and shaking them, quote, for standing up to police officers. Oh, that's shocking. That's shocking. Quote, to the several hundred extra police now massing in Ottawa to soon raid, arrest their fellow Canadians protesting for charter rights, watch this video. Decide which side of history you are on. The world is watching, Wilson wrote on Twitter on February 9, 2022. Listen to this. Listen to this. Absolute rubbish. This message violates the Law Society of Alberta Code of Conduct, alleges the complaint. It's nice to allege things. For example, the code states that, quote, when acting as an advocate, a lawyer must represent the client resolutely and honorably within the limits of the law, end quote. And that, quote, a lawyer must encourage public respect for and try to improve the administration of justice. I mean, this is perhaps the most quintessential paradigm of one screen, two films. This guy, Warman, is looking at Keith Wilson, who himself is saying, I am encouraging public respect and trying to improve the administration of justice by asking and imploring and calling upon police officers not to come down and break up lawful protest, constitutionally protected protest, not to carry out the orders of a man who is more intent on weaponizing the nuclear weapons of legislation than he is to actually listen to the citizens he was elected to represent. But let's just see. So far, now I see where it's getting funny. So far, I see not just nothing wrong, I see something ethically problematic about filing abusive, frivolous allegations of breach of ethics. Now, there is a process. If it works the same way in Alberta as it does in Quebec, there will be an initial triage where they're going to say, okay, does this even warrant opening up a formal investigation to look into, to have a hearing on? I don't know what stage it's at yet. We'll see. But listen to this. It goes on. And now I can see where, hey, once you've legislated against hate speech, it goes from what were the clearest cut examples of hate speech to weaponizing it to prohibit political critique. Warman also alleges that Wilson engaged, quote, in trivialization of the Holocaust by retweeting material comparing Justin Trudeau to Adolf Hitler, end quote, with the hashtag Free Tamara in reference to convoy organizer Tamara Litch, who had been arrested at the time. In the tweet, quote, blackface refers to the fact that Trudeau previously acknowledged wearing blackface many years ago. By the way, there's a lot of well-founded rumors that the CBC and other state-funded media had those images for a long time and knew that Justin Trudeau had done that, but quite clearly covered up for it for an extensive period of time. And here's the tweet. By the way, for anybody who doesn't know, blackface Hitler, in as much as you might find it a morally objectionable, offensive hashtag, word, name, whatever, it was trending on Twitter at the time. And this is what happens when you have lost all political credibility, when you've lost the moral authority to lead a nation. This is what happens. Blackface Hitler trends on Twitter in reference to Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, because he dressed in blackface more times than he can count. Yes, it was 20 years ago, and I am actually more interested in his recent transgressions than his past ones that are decades old. According to the letter of complaint, Warman believes that these tweets breach different code of conduct rules, such as ones that require such as one that requires that in the course of a professional practice, a lawyer must not communicate with any person in a manner that is abusive of a retweet, by the way. And when we're talking about retweeting without commentary, well, Keith Wilson just retweet, no commentary, no, yeah, great hashtag, no, I approve of this, just a retweet. You actually, if I want to play devil's advocate, you don't even know what he was retweeting this for. It could have been to condemn, it could have been to raise awareness of something he thought was blameworthy. And Wilson is a lawyer who is extremely smart and knows. A blanket retweet, going right back to the Johnny Depp question. Like I say, you can learn things from there that you can apply elsewhere. A retweet without a comment, and this lawyer says this is a violation of your ethics code of Alberta. I mean, I'd be curious on the one hand to even know what this lawyer knows of the code of conduct of Alberta, if this lawyer is even certified to practice in Alberta. For his part, Wilson wrote the following in response to Radio-Canada's CBC's request for comments. I am aware of the complaint made against me to the Law Society of Alberta by Mr. Warman. Given that the matter is now before the Law Society, I will not be providing any comment on the matter until such time as that process concludes, or at all. And then we have any excuse to get back to the JCCF. Okay, so that's it. By the way, and let me just say one thing, because I want to just go back to my tweet on the subject before I bring in the Hunley. Everyone, go read The Gray Lady Winked. Phenomenal. Where am I going? I'm looking for it. Here we go. So I wrote a lawyer, Richard Warman, who was never a client of Keith Wilson, files an ethics complaint against a lawyer he has never had any professional dealings with. This itself should be an ethics violation, in my humble opinion. Filing complaints against professionals that you've never had any professional dealings with should itself be unethical, especially if you're a professional. We're not weaponizing the ethics board for political retribution. If someone who is affected by something has a complaint, they can do it. And by the way, the board itself can do it, I believe, on its own. But the CBC will run with it. Their employer, Justin Trudeau, must be very happy. Then someone said, and I think it was a legit question, not really seeing the issue here. I would hope that all lawyers would file an ethics complaint if they honestly believe one of their own is acting in a shady manner. I would think that the bar, being self-policing would be a good thing, isn't it? Self-policing, when it has been weaponized for political gain, no, I don't think it's a good thing. But to which I responded, and I think he's being honest, the argument, and it is one that I find compelling, you can't honestly file an ethics complaint against someone that you've never had any dealings with. A tweet? But I could think of a tweet which could be so offensive on its face that someone can file an ethics complaint. But as a general rule, you've never had any professional dealings with an individual. You should only be able to file an ethics complaint if you have standing, and that would involve either being affected by and in a tangible sense, or actual knowledge of. Not, I don't like what he said, so I'm just going to go ahead and file a complaint. And if it doesn't go through, no skin off my back. I've just made his life a living hell for a little bit. Okay, so that's that. Hold on, super chat to bring up. They pulled medical licenses from U.S. doctors for heresy against the. I know, I interviewed. I'm not going to remember her name now. I'm sorry, and I don't mean to be disrespectful at all. It's just I'm totally senile. But I interviewed a doctor, and it's just weaponizing and basically interfering with independent practice of lawyers, of doctors, violating one of the fundamental rules that the lawyer is the master of their file. The doctor is the one that makes the decisions for their patients based on the knowledge of their patients, and not the order, not people at large under threat of sanctions, period. And apparently the individual who filed the complaint has something of a reputation that I do not know of, therefore I do not speak of it, but I think people know about it. All right, people, we have an intriguing well, last time you were on the channel.
Thank you. Do we need a Goldwater rule for lawyers? Is that what you're saying?
Do we need a Goldwater rule? Well,
because it's similar, right? You're not.
Yeah.
It's like a psychiatrist diagnosing a patient he hasn't actually seen. A lawyer is filing an ethics complaint without knowing the specific case.
I think if we were to establish something along those lines, it would be a very useful rule. I mean, as it is right now, there are, not naming any names, people who have never had any dealings just filing these complaints and saying, well, I'll take my chances because there's no sanction for an abusive, frivolous ethics complaint. Let them, they'll determine it. I'm just, there should be something of a similar rule. You have to have specific knowledge. You have to have specific dealings or specific prejudice. It's not, what would we call it? Call it if we establish it, the Viva ethics rule.
Yeah. While you're at it, have another board that lines up people's predictions or statements and check them every year. Like, okay, so you said this is going to happen here, and then have like a little track record for them. So, you have a batting averages or different sports or whatever. How about prognosticator average? Like they've been wrong 90% of the time, and they're telling you something new.
Oh, we're going to get to that one there. What is it? Who's Yellen now saying, we were wrong on inflation being transitory. Before we get to some of the interesting discussions, Eric, what have you been up to these days?
Just a day job, and different channels, and trying to stay relevant in the Johnny Depp trial land.
I think we have to. I have to. I'm conceding. I didn't want to cover it, and people are covering it 24/7 and doing a great job. But anyways, we'll get the verdict. We'll move on to you were following Sussman.
Only what you were talking about. I mean, it kind of was predictable from what I heard from you and Barnes, that you can't do any wrong or you can't do any right. So it's you pretty much have a foregone conclusion of whatever's going to happen in that court.
Yeah, they basically. I mean, it was effectively in that case. Let me just see if I can pull up an article. It was nothing shy of jury nullification. I mean, one of the jurors. Here, let me pull this up actually. Jury nullification. Michael Sussman basically said 8 hours ago. Yeah, here we go. Here, let's bring this up. One of the juries said basically, I don't think it was serious enough to prosecute. They should be focusing on bigger deals. Here we go.
Yeah, like the other party.
Yeah, I said the other party.
That's really it. The opposite of that would be the jury saying, I don't care if he didn't do it. I'm sure he did something.
Where is it in the article? So they have bigger. Let's hear. Where was the article? It doesn't matter. There was you can read it. One of the jury members came out and gave a public statement, said they have bigger fish to fry. Oh, no, but it's we'll see. What's the next file that everybody's going to be following here?
I don't know. I thought it might be Marilyn Manson, but I think Amber Heard has effectively destroyed Me Too.
What's going on with Marilyn Manson?
It sounded like the cops are tossing it. And
fill in people who don't know what's going on with the Marilyn Manson in general.
Well, Marilyn Manson, oh God, I forgot her name, but she's in Westworld, pretty popular actress.
Chad will get it in 5 seconds.
Yeah, I'm depending on them. She and several others all said that Marilyn Manson essentially did bad things with them. Very bad things to women with them. He's a monster, etc. And obviously with Marilyn Manson, when you your name is derived from Marilyn Monroe and Charles Manson, and you wear the costume makeup and the music is, kind of all violence and dark and morbid, that's a hard claim to get away from, because it immediately paints a picture. That's one thing that I think that Johnny Depp always had in this trial, is if you think about Amber Heard's testimony at the end, she was saying, how he's a monster and he gets everybody to do what he wants. And, like he's just prime manipulator behind the scenes who was going to crush people. And you're looking at him, you're like, Johnny Depp? I just don't see it. Johnny Depp? I mean, there are other actors. Like if somebody tells you, hey, Kevin Spacey did such and such, you're like, oh, House of Cards, Kevin Spacey, who can, David Fincher's movie Seven, Kevin Spacey. Yeah, I can see him doing that. But you can't really picture it that easily with Johnny Depp, because all of his characters, even the pirate is kind of a drunken, fun pirate. Edward Scissorhands, every one of Depp's characters were kind of vulnerable. This is the opposite. Evan Rachel Wood, thank you.
Yeah.
This is the opposite with Marilyn Manson. This is like, oh, it'd be like them going after Gene Simmons from Kiss. People be like, oh, or Ron Jeremy, which has already happened. And Ron Jeremy is like in prison right now, I think. I don't know if he'll ever make it to trial.
Hold on. But what happened to Ron Jeremy? He made a good rum. Is it Ron Jeremy?
Oh yeah. He's on like sexual. Oh, he's on SA for like 60 people, or I don't know, some incredible amount.
Man, you know what? I gotta tell you, this might. Hold on here. Actor John CBC. I feel terrible bringing up the CBC. Hold on. Share this. Ron Jeremy indicted on over 30 counts. Well, if you, he does not look good.
R word. Yeah, he's in rough shape. I mean, he's not a young guy. So what is he? 68, but I mean, he's not really a healthy. He's not looked healthy for a long time.
2 decades. Ronald Jeremy Hyatt pleaded not guilty The indictment, which was returned on August 19, unsealed Wednesday, covers allegations dating back to 96 to 2019, victims aged 15 to 51. The counts appear to be identical to charges filed against Jeremy last year, which he also denied. So he's is he in jail now?
Yeah,
Jeremy has been in there since jail on
June
6.6 million
for 2 years now. That's why I said he may not even live to try.
Wow.
I don't know. He doesn't. He looks rough, and he's been in jail. Sorry, not prison, jail. When there are some who would say that jail is actually worse than prison here, because you're not in a permanent state. Like in prisons, that's their ultimate home, so to speak. So they can kind of settle in more. Whereas jail's rough. Also, jail doesn't segregate at all, really. With jail, you get whomever, wherever.
I know a little tidbit of information that I can share just because I happen to know it when I looked up the Djinn. Nicknamed the Hedgehog. He's nicknamed the Hedgehog for obvious reasons. Jeremy has been among the most best known and most prolific. I mean, that's not exactly how I describe it. Notorious, maybe, performers in the porn industry for decades, appearing in hundreds of films since the 70s. He's made regular appearances, yada, yada. Along with Weinstein, he is one of only a few men investigated and charged by district attorney's task force formed to take on sexual misconduct in the entertainment industry. There was something called the Jeremy the Ron Jeremy clause in contracts in the industry. People would object categorically to doing any scenes with Ron Jeremy, so they would specifically have clauses inserted into their contract saying they would not be compelled or do scenes with Ron Jeremy, known as the Ron Jeremy clause.
Okay. That tells you exactly how prominent he was in this world. I mean,
now that I say that out loud, however, I'm just gonna go double check that. I got a job recommendation from CBC on LinkedIn. The Ron Jeremy clause.
Think about it. Ron Jeremy goes all the way back with John Holmes.
Good. I got it. I did not misremember. Good to check. No Ron Jeremy clause. What an absolute, nothing can be more insulting than that, I think, especially in an industry where that's what you do. Like, no, it's like, I will not play chess against, I will have the no Magnus Carlsen clause. I will refuse to play chess against him.
Well, I mean, if you've got to do a job.
So Marilyn Manson was accused of the same stuff as other people. He does not exactly have the household child-friendly image reputation.
Correct.
But there looks like the DA's dropping it or what?
It's looking like it may not go forward. Check out TMZ, Marilyn Manson. It came out yesterday, if you want to pull that up. But from what I understand, and a lot of the people who are on the pro Johnny Depp team, the Colonel Kurtz's, Andrea Bernhardt's, are on the Marilyn Manson side. Now, he may still be in the news because he has like a 29-page defamation claim going against Evan Rachel Wood and co, because she released an entire documentary on this, which is interesting. And I don't know, all the rules on that, but if somebody makes a documentary accusing you of all this stuff, I would think that, if you could prove it false, that's a good defamation claim, right? That's quite literally profiting directly from a lie.
They say that after a year of investigation, detectives haven't found solid evidence that'll nail the rocker. That's a very odd analogy, metaphor.
Well, look at the next line. Some credibility issues with the victim. And apparently the victim is the from inside sources, I guess, according to Colonel Kurtz and whatever, that it's actually Evan.
Well, that's interesting. Cops are close to submitting their findings to the LA County District Attorney's Office, who ultimately will make the decision, but it's hard to imagine they charge without the goods. Okay, the idea.
Yeah. Especially there, because they have an attorney that won't prosecute anyone. Now, he is white. That'll help.
Well, I don't even know of the background of Marilyn Manson.
There's that lawsuit that I was talking about. Writing a fake letter from the FBI, pretending to be an agent, hinting at the fact he was anyway.
In a shocking lawsuit filed against Wood by Manson, he accused his former lover of writing a fake letter from the FBI, pretending to be an agent, hinting at the fact that he was under investigation. My goodness gracious. Well, that might be a trial to follow if and when it gets to trial.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Well, and my thoughts were, if Johnny Depp wins, if that didn't destroy Me Too, this would. You know, when you get the Marilyn Manson, if he does it and wins the trial, because again, his image is not Disney.
Someone said something in the chat here which I found interesting, but now I've lost it. So never mind. Nate the lawyer from New York has a YouTube channel with Eric Hunley. Has that kicked off, Eric?
Yeah, Nate and Eric.
Nate and Eric.
Yeah, we sent out the surveys and paid a lot of money to, having focus groups. What in the hell do we call it? So it's Nate and Eric.
Nate and Eric. And I can see the branding N and E. It's almost like A&E. Although, yeah, the funny thing is you could go either with, I always go alphabetically. So I would have gone with Eric and Nate, although that sounds like Erica, Nate. But if you go alphabetically,
I thought about it. Well, one, he's the bigger YouTuber, so just naturally. And I always think that a single syllable followed by a multiple sounds better.
Interesting.
Nate and Eric. Yeah, I don't know. It just sounds rhythmically better.
Oh, yeah. But okay. Well, so I have not been following Manson. That might be a good one to get into now to see that.
Yeah, I can send you the complaint.
Yeah, send me the complaint because that's one of those lawsuits that won't settle, unless there's a massive apology, which would be unlikely. So that wouldn't.
And he's got the money.
What do you know offhand? What district it's filed in?
I think it's California, but I don't know.
They have
Nate study. They have a slap in California or anti-slap in California, so that should be interesting as well.
Yeah, very cool. Hold on, stop screen. What else did I have now? I had something else on the backdrop there, Eric. Let me see. Hold on. You're gonna.
I don't know.
Let's see. Oh, you were in the military.
I was, yes.
Okay. This was my it's not an original thought, but I can't believe that people are lacking the reflection or the insight to know the positions are incompatible. And Canada made, my goodness, when Canada does something that relates to what is the Second Amendment in the United States, it makes the news in the States. And Trudeau, you've seen the news with Trudeau all over the States.
Well, I was confused. I was like, oh, you actually still have guns? I just figured you already had them banned.
We've had some of the stuff that Trudeau is talking about doing now is old news, like the buyback program for the rifles that they declared unlawful by order in council. That's nearly 2 years old. But this freeze on the transfer acquisition of handguns in Canada is new. But people don't they either appreciate it or they don't. That the same people who want to curtail all firearm rights and say you don't need this for self-defense are simultaneously shipping and supporting billions to arm for self-defense.
Yeah, also worry about Ukraine's borders as well.
It is. What do you chalk it up to, Eric? It can't be. It can't be collective lack of insight. What do you chalk it up to?
I don't know. I have problems figuring it all out. I really, because there's that whole thing of stupid or liar. I always like that term with Kroll, I think, says that quite often. Either you're stupid or you're a liar. I kind of feel like it's just pure gaslighting. Like they literally do not care. And when you confront them with it, they'll just repeat it and a little bit louder. And this goes all the way back to Goebbels. Just keep repeating the same lie over and over, and it becomes the truth. And it's easy to do if you have an entire mainstream media that's just going to echo your opinion. It's literally a good government-controlled media if you think about it. Everybody's in the bag. So, no skin off their nose. All they have to do is repeat it. How many headlines do you get wrong? All of them.
I take for granted people know this, Eric. What branch? And you were there for a long time, like years.
No. Oh, 6 years isn't a long time.
Oh, 6 years. A mere 6 years. Describe I know we've talked about it before, but for the new people, describe your experience.
I was in the Army in the 90s, essentially during Clinton, and it was a little Bush carryover, but no, mostly Clinton, and nothing exciting. I'm fortunate that I was in the military when there was nothing really going on. The only action that was happening, there was some stuff in Bosnia, but it didn't really affect me. And I volunteered to invade Haiti and wound up in Cuba, taking care of refugees. So that's essentially it. I don't really go into it a lot because I feel like there's so many worthy people out there who serve the country, been in combat, and I never want to make a claim like I'm one of those. I was just essentially a peacetime.
Look, I will never deter modesty, but 6 years, and it's 6 years full time, right? This is like 6 years day in, day out.
Active.
Yeah, that's mind blowing for me. I've never served a day. I've never done train. I've never done it. I can't imagine doing it. 6 years. I mean, university was 4 years. It was the longest 4 years of my life. So that's
anybody can do anything, dude. I mean, excuse my language, but there's a thing. I could stand in a bucket of shit for 30 days. I could do that. You know, it's like whatever. You just one thing good about the military I learned, like in basic training early on, because it's 2 months of just being a pain in the ass. I mean, it's not fun. Basic training is not a pleasant experience. And you're going, oh my God, I have 7 weeks, 6 days, and 22 hours left. And you're sitting there counting it down. And then you finally realize, and I've tried to take this in life, and it's a matter of, you know what? I got lunch in 2 hours. They can only screw with me so much before lunch. And then, you know what? The day ends at such and such. I got dinner. They can only screw with me so much until dinner. And you just do that. And before you know it, you're through it. And it's lame, but that's probably one of the best lessons in life. And I think everybody can use that. No matter what it is, just say, well, such as, lunchtime is in X hours. How much can they do before then?
Yeah, it's a good perspective. I think the closest I can potentially imagine is having done long races, like those Spartan races, and I used to do the ones they were 50 kilometers. I ran a 50 mile in Bear Mountain, and there's like the type of thing where you go through the ups and downs. But my issue would be like say it again.
Did you bonk?
No, I made it. It took me 12 hours.
You had to bonk. I mean, I've done the marathons. I bonked. You hit a certain point and you're just dying, and then you start to get a second wind.
Well, one of the ones where I ran not the Ultra Beast. It was a beast. So I think it was either 13 miles or it was 13 miles. And I said I'm going to do it without water because I to not carry 5 pounds of water would be beneficial. I cramped so badly. Like I've never actually had leg cramps where I realize now when people say if you cramp up when you're swimming, you'll drown. I cramps in my legs were like, it was the craziest thing ever. Never made that mistake twice. But, the bonking, I guess, yeah, the psychological despair at some point. In the 50 mile, we started at 5 a.m. and I finished at 5:15 in the afternoon. Is someone saying verdict is in? Verdict is in. Eric, you're here. Hold on.
Let's go.
Hold on. Refresh. I don't care, people. I don't care. Oh, now I got a commercial on Law and Crime.
I can't believe
I didn't want to see the verdict.
You're not going to pay for you. I mean, I don't watch YouTube commercials. I actually pay for the premium. I'm grandfathered
that's
in.
What you're going to give me
Oh, come on. Well, okay. I'm grandfathered in. I've had it since like 2008. I pay $7 a month or something. It is so worth it to not have commercials.
I'll think about it. It's never bothered me so much. Okay. The verdict is
share like pre-roll. Oh shit.
Depp claims verdict reached. Okay, so I'm watching Law and Crime just because whatever. Oh my God, there are right now on Law and Crime. I'm going to keep refreshing. 339
in 1.5 hours.
Oh,
so it might be. Somebody said verdict in 1.5 hours.
So I've got to talk for an hour and a half to do it live.
I don't know. Well, I mean, maybe they're waiting on the lawyers. I thought the lawyers had to be there within 10 minutes of the place.
People hate. I like if the commercials are good. I can watch commercials. The unicorn. What was it? The one there. The squatty.
Oh, the poopy. Yeah. That was put together by the guy who runs VidCon.
Oh, really? Best ad ever. I actually got the squatty potty. It helped for the first month, but it's like the what's it called? The broken light bulb theory. Like just doing something different in the bathroom will help. But
speaking of books, if you ever want to read that Principle, Diet Cults by Matt Fitzgerald's fantastic. And he goes into how every diet is technically effective in some ways because it's usually cleaning up your food intake. So whether you're going vegan or you're going paleo or whatever anybody's doing, usually part of it is to stop eating junk food, stop drinking soda, and clean up the food.
But I've seen the 1 hour ads. Some of them, the ones about the gut, the thing that drives me nuts, how stupid am I? I watch these ads thinking I'm going to get what is the magic cure for the gut upset stomach. Yeah, but I've never seen a 1 hour unskippable ad. They get frustrating when I'm on the treadmill. You know what? I am an idiot. Because when I jog on the treadmill and I'm watching off my computer and then I have to get off to skip the ads and then it interrupts my flow. I didn't realize it was okay. You know what? I might get it now. Mahuyo, those are ninja stars. Those are illegal in Canada, sir, unless they are for ninja star throwing competitions.
Don't worry. Pretty soon you'll have kitchen knives illegal. I'm sure they're going to follow the London path.
Oh, God. Yeah, well, it'll be illegal to carry around acid in public. Oh man. Judgment may be for Johnny. Holy crabopples. Anyways, it's a big day. We'll see what happens. Maybe if it's at 3:00, I can do this. I got to pick up a kid at 3:30.
Well, it doesn't take him that long to do well, you can do some Inception. What are the other lawyers saying?
I don't want to do Inception. This, Eric, I'll say it between you and me, but publicly now. I have been struggling as to how to go about dealing with this whole Johnny. The LawTube thing is beautiful. Nobody really steps on anybody's toes, and there's no but about that. Everybody's getting along. The issue is I didn't want to look like I was stepping on anybody's toes. I didn't want to go on other people's streams and then make it look like I was there to announce that I'm going on my stream to do it live. And so like it might be all fabricated in my own head, imaginings, but it's become like, I felt guilty even wanting to pop onto other streams because I didn't want it to look like I was going to the 40 or 50 or 150,000 person stream to announce that I'm going live so that I what's the word?
You just don't announce. You just go hang out and then you leave.
It looks even more deceitful. Like you're doing it to be, trying to be cannibalized is what I'm looking for. So
somebody calls it clout farming. That was a term.
Clout shopping yeah. It's so that's it. It's been a difficult to navigate the interplay between all the lawyers covering this in real time. It isn't. Well, yeah, there's a lot of things. I'm aware when it's in my head, but doesn't make it any easier to deal with. That's the problem. Especially when I say it out loud, and then it becomes into everyone else's head.
Well, then you're sharing it. You're relieving some of the pressure. Everybody else gets to suffer too.
I was going to go pop in. Alita was live, and I was going to go pop in. Sure. Emily's, more solo, and I don't even want to look like I'm like, okay. So anyway, next trial, people. The next trial that if it's Marilyn Manson, I'll do it.
Well, I don't know if we could pull it off, but if any of the Baldwins go in, I'm going to be trying to do that with Mark.
Eric, so you're covering that with America's Untold Stories with Mark Grobert, who is Grobert is to the entertainment industry what Barnes is to the law industry is my assessment, and you are to Grobert what I think I am to Barnes. It's like we extract the information, we carry the conversation.
Make the tech work.
Now, but what is going on with Rusty Shackford says maybe a disguise. I'll go. I can do that. Hello, children. How goes it? I am just the newest person to LawTubes. You did a video on the latest in the guy Baldwin.
Yeah.
What's going on there? Because I haven't talked about it in a while.
I mean, not much is happening right now. He's found he's starting another company with one of the producers on Rust.
Another production company.
Yeah. Essentially letting El Dorado burn up because that's his liability shield.
Yeah. Do they? If I can stop you there, do they create one production company typically for each production so they don't run into liability issues, or do they use one for multiple productions?
I think they usually use one just as a shield between them and whoever, and then they work for their own production company. And it's a way to kind of act as that shield. But he burned that shell up, and his partner is claiming that he's going to try to. They may be able to finish Rust, which I highly, highly doubt.
I still can't. In your we're going to get to that in a second, but in your researchings with Grobert, there's no video of the incident.
Not of the incident, no. There's video of him doing a pull with his finger on it, and that's in all the evidence. I have all the police interviews, etc., that they released. And no, I am not a lawyer.
Yeah, but he just he hangs out with them. He stayed in a Holiday Inn with one. Eric and I bunked together in Virginia when I went to Tim Pool. And for anybody who can't appreciate this, Eric is a full 1 foot taller than me. Like, Eric, when I thought Eric was a normal size, normal height, 5'5.5", 5'6".
That's normal.
Yeah, I was just in Florida like last weekend. We're meeting these kids. The kids are taller than me. They're 9 years old. Like, what's in the food? What's in the water? And is it too late for me to put on a few inches? But Eric is a full 1 foot tall. You're 6'6", right? 6'5"?
No, I'm like 6'2".
Oh, that feels like 6'6" to me. Anyway, so we bunked together. So Eric's not a lawyer, but he hangs out with him. Sorry. Now,
poor taste in character.
Say that again.
I have a poor taste in character.
Oh yes. Well, you picked the good lawyers to hang with. Okay, so sorry, I cut you off there with they're trying to finish the movie.
No, he said that they might be able to. I doubt that's going to happen, but they're starting up new productions there. That's heading. Let me see. Alec Baldwin's off of Twitter now, as of a couple days ago.
Suspended or just not on it?
He's not on it. Probably deleted his. They do that, and then he'll probably pop back up. What I love though is Alec Baldwin. Did you see the fight at the airport with the airport worker and the NFL player? They got in a fist fight.
Is it the one he punched the guy back and then the guy kept on coming forward again?
And he punched him and he went into the luggage thing on the sideways. Yeah, about a week ago.
So, yeah.
Well, Alec Baldwin had to pipe up about it, which is the height of irony about workplace safety.
It's the guy who said, "Come at me," even after he says, what did he say? The airline attendant who got punched literally asked for it. Like he said, "Let's do this" or something.
I guess I didn't catch all the dialogue. I just thought it was funny that Alec Baldwin is going to talk about workplace safety with anybody else, and to make it worse, not just Rust, but did you know in 2011 that Alec Baldwin was thrown off a plane?
Oh, I mean, he's had rage issues for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Thrown off a plane was rage related.
Well, he wouldn't stop playing Words with Friends, supposedly, and like was locked in a bathroom or whatever. He was Alec being Alec. Sad thing is, I think he actually got an ad gig off of it. Okay. It doesn't help with narcissists if they get rewarded from their bad behavior.
But at least, probably too late. But the investigation has not yielded any results yet as to whether or not they're prosecuting or not prosecuting Baldwin. Still,
not yet. Little birdie tells me that some FBI data may be coming in soon.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, I'm echoing.
Oh, you hear yourself echoing?
Oh yeah.
Where are my headphones? Where are the beautiful headphones, Eric, that you got for my birthday? Thank you very much. Oh God, I just knocked my glasses. Okay, let's do this. You're echoing. That means you're reading the chat, and I'm pulling up a picture because I'm reading the chat too. The chat apparently is asking for the picture of the fish. Look at this freaking fish, people. Hands down. How do I enlarge the picture? Enhance. Look at the size of that fish. Apparently, it only weighed about 6 pounds. I call bull crap on the scale. I think that's a 12-pounder, easy, all day.
He's happy yourself.
It's two of those is as tall as me. That's the fish I caught first cast, and I love fishing.
Is that like a mic drop in fishing?
It kind of. I mean, it's like you go to a place, you don't know the layout of the water. You just and then you just pop it in, and then my kid reeled it in, which was fantastic.
That's Florida.
That's Florida, yeah.
All right.
Man, and we went to the Everglades. We did the airboat thingy thing there. We saw a crocodile. I fished for a couple minutes off the
fan
dock.
boat?
Yeah, the fan boat thing. It's very, very loud. It's kind of cool. But fished off the dock there, not even a bite. Go to these a puddle. It's a pond off of these these condos. First bite, and it was fantastic.
That's a big fish.
Yeah, it's a big fish. 6.5 pound bass. Looks about right. Done too much bass. Good. Okay. No, I you know what? If I didn't have a scale, I would have said that was 12 pounds. Now I'm looking at that bass and I'm thinking all the pike I've ever caught are like 4 pounds. I was using like a Zara Spook type lure that it's called Walk of the Dog. Anybody who knows, it's like a military march. You jerk it and it goes left, right, left, right, left, right, in like a zigzag. But it was beautiful. And someone says alligator, not crocodile, and I believe you're right. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, and don't make. God, that actually reminds me of a story. I have a friend, Tyson Franklin, out of Australia, and he lives in Cairns, as he would say it. And I didn't realize that the inlets. I was talking about all the sharks or whatever, and they have inlets, and I'm like, yeah, I would not even be messing with it. Everything in Australia would kill you. So two funny stories, actually. One, I said, everything in Australia will kill you. That just seems like a scary place to live. He said, yeah, I'd rather be here than Chicago. I was like, fair point. And then the second one was, I was talking about the sharks and the inlets that are coming in. And he's like, oh, we don't really worry about them too much. The crocs take them out. And I was like, well, there's a silver lining. He was talking about how they throw like a whole chicken off of a bridge, and a croc will come completely out of the water and come up about 10 to 15 feet in the air and snatch the chicken. It's
people are telling me like Florida is effectively the Australia of America, and I understand it now. I mean, it's wild animals everywhere, and it's just glorious. Someone says that I used the golden shiners. No, we did not. Next time I go, we're going to rent a dinghy on the Everglades, and I'm going to buy those shiners. I'm going to catch some fish, real fish, big fish.
Cool. Yeah, we have bull sharks here, Eric Kelly.
Well, where you're where? You're in?
I'm in Hampton, Virginia, which is Norfolk, Virginia Beach area.
Okay.
And they do have bull sharks that'll come up. As a matter of fact, Jaws, I think, was based on an incident in New Jersey in the early 20th century with some boys that were hit by sharks in the inland along a river. And it was a bull shark. Bull sharks are wild because they will swim in fresh water. And I think they've gone all the like 2/3 of the way up the Mississippi.
I'm going to see if I can find a video. I remember there being a video. Bull shark nabs fish. There were these people fishing in like, I won't be able to find it now, but they were just fishing off a little dock in one of those tidal rivers. It might have been I don't know where, but tidal rivers. And as they're reeling in their bull, snags it. Like, that would freak me out. I mean, I would never swim in those bodies of water in any event, but
yeah, you can't see. I mean, a lot of East Coast water you cannot see down below. It's just muddy or mucky, depending on how you want to put it.
Yeah, here, look at this. The chat is Viva. Jaws was based on a bull shark in the Delaware River near Philly.
But that's close to what I said. Yeah. That's the Jersey, Philly. They're next to each other.
Oh, we got it. Jim Gagne says Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard. Breaking news. The verdict is in. It is to be read at 3 p.m. So I'm going to have to
I thought it was daylight time. I always love how people are putting Eastern Standard Time all the time. It's like, oh, we're in EDT right now.
Well, I would just put 1300 and avoid the PM, but
or I just say ET. Well, that would be actually 1500. So you'd really mess people up.
So oh man, so I'm gonna have to stay live for another hour and a quarter and be here when it happens at 3 o'clock, and then duck out at 3:20.
Yeah, you either do that or you jump on somebody else's stream and party.
Eric, you might make more sense than I make, actually. Anyways, I got some stories to cover after this, but what's your prediction, by the way?
I've always kind of thought $1 for Johnny would be probably the most appropriate thing. I mean, I want to see her punished, et cetera, but I don't know. It's really hard because there's that. The question is, does the jury hate her enough to say, I really don't care? You know, everything out of her mouth is a lie, so everything has to be a lie. I mean, what do you think?
I at this point, I think they're going to fine for Johnny. That just the question from yesterday is very telling. You know, do we consider the entire article or just the headline?
Well, she cinched it, I think, in her own when she was being crossed at the end by Camille. I think she sunk herself because she said, that's why I wrote it about him. Boom. That was, that was a major evidence point, I feel, because they could have kept saying the claim. She's been abused her whole life. This isn't about Johnny. It's about her. And that, remember, that's how they opened. This wasn't about Johnny. It was about her. And by the way, he did do it. Blah, 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 blah. But then she said, that's why I wrote about him, in that kind of fit of rage. And I think that solves it. Now, then it's a matter of the damages or whatever. There's no way she's going to be able to pay $45 million, dude. Her career's done. I don't know. I don't know if she'll be showing up on Hallmark anytime soon.
I'm bringing up Just JC. This is not to poke fun, JC. This is a prediction because everyone's entitled to theirs. I'll tell you why I disagree with yours. As a matter of fact, both will lose their suits, but JD will appeal, and Amber Heard won't because he wants to keep abusing her in court every year. If they both lose, I don't think either of them are appealing because, from what I understand, to appeal a jury verdict, it's extremely difficult. You have to have errors in law committed by the judge, I presume, that affected the jury's verdict, or the verdict has to be so patently untenable to be appealable. So I think, as a matter of law, this prediction is not one I would put any money on.
The wording is very interesting on this, though. To keep, so you're saying that he is currently abusing her? I'm confused by the verbiage there. I just want to make sure. I don't want to project. I'm saying it reads odd.
Well, no, just JC is known to the community as being very much, I won't say Team Amber or anti-Depp. Just JC, I believe, is quite clearly a supporter of, believes Amber Heard and does not believe Johnny Depp.
Oh, okay.
To put it mildly. To put it mildly.
Well, you want everybody. I mean, I want everybody to come on board. I don't mind. I get called many names. Trust me.
Oh no, you get called names on my channel, Eric. I don't know. I don't know who you pissed off, but
thank you.
Now let's see here. My mistake, 1900 UT. Well, yes, Pasha, now you screwed up. It's 3:00 a.m. p.m. this afternoon. Someone had a chat. So here it says,
I say ET, and I do that year round.
I put EST, and then people are like, well, it's not Eastern Standard Time. Because
that's why I said I just go Eastern Time, because whatever time it is, it's Eastern Time. If it's daylight, cool. By the way, I hope that does go through, because we did get a universal vote from Congress and Senate, I believe 100% to have permanent daylight savings time.
Do you know what the problem is with that, Eric? I want to take this one down for a second. There's going to be a religious lobby in that. I never appreciated this, but if you eliminate daylight savings for certain religious practices that have to be done before sundown or after sundown or whatever, it's going to make it extremely difficult, in that some people are going to, if they want to retain the faith practices, are going to have to do things either extremely early or extremely late when it's dark early. Like, there's going to be a time of year where it's going to be dark. So which way is it going to work? If they eliminate it, what's going to happen?
Permanent. It's not eliminated. They're saying permanent. So it'll always be the extra hour of light.
The extra hour of light.
Yes. And by the way, I'm gonna push back real quickly. The whole thing of religious services. Oh, you mean that religion didn't exist before daylight savings time, which is a freaking construct? If we're gonna get into it, because we made it up and said we're just gonna shift the clock. And oh my God, how do they survive? None of those people with a religion live in Arizona? Because they obviously can't practice in Arizona because there's no daylight savings time or daylight saving time. So I'm going to call bullshit on the religious argument.
Well, call what you want. One thing is clear. There's going to be, I believe that there's going to be a lobby to actually maintain it, because certain religious practices, from what I've heard, are going to be too difficult or too onerous. But we'll see. I wouldn't mind. Daylight savings makes no sense. The only issue is that in winter, with spring ahead fallback, so in winter it gets dark very early.
Right. So this will have it get dark 1 hour later.
Which means it's going to get light 1 hour later.
Yes.
In the morning.
Yes.
Okay.
So what? Sleep in.
No, doesn't make a difference to me. Okay, now hold on. Theophrastus says, friends to me, quote, if you don't watch major networks, how do you keep up with the news? Me, there's a guy in Canada with a cool fro and a shirt.
There you go.
I'm actually still wearing it from yesterday. I'm ashamed to admit. And Mark Neal says, how is it you're planning to address the residency citizenship issue? Are you exploiting your celebrity? I don't know what the last part means.
Are you?
Or are you? No, I'm good at everything. If look, the first things, if it becomes permanent, I'm not doing it. I'm gonna apply for a visa. We'll see. I mean, it's a question of whether or not short-term, long-term investment whether or not it's to work, in which case you're going to get visas. I can't do anything that is not totally transparent. But the more fundamental question is the idea of a meaningful prospect of having to leave one's country because of the degrading system that is happening in real time at an accelerating rate. It's distressing.
There are many people who would like to leave Canada right now.
Yeah, it's distressing and it's depressing, and it's like this is my home. But I've been, I said there were lines in the sand, legislative lines in the sand that have been reached and breached.
To reach back into my past, remember I spent time in Cuba, and I can't think of a single Cuban refugee I dealt with who didn't say we would stay in Cuba if it wasn't under Castro. Your prime minister's hero and probably actual father.
Yeah.
So I can relate. I mean, there's a lot of people don't want to leave their home, their family, or whatever else. That's the worst.
No, and I'm anticipating, by the way, Sam Short, stay and fight. Life becomes a little different when you have kids. And I'm me staying and fighting. First of all, when they criminalize fighting, when they criminalize the discussion, when they criminalize anything,
you mean like protests? If they just shut down the protests,
like protests, like restrictions on travel, like it's this. The question is, everybody will tell everyone else to sacrifice everything, stay and fight. You sacrifice everything.
By the way, I've got to run here because my day job is calling. I got another conference call. So someday I'll be a big time YouTuber and I can hang out.
And for everyone out there talking about transparency, people can see when you have a job, they know when you leave evidence. So Eric, go. Thank you very much for coming in. Oh, wait, whoa.
That's
remind everyone where they can find you.
Eric Hunley, unstructured.locals.com, America's Untold Stories, Laidback News. I don't know. Maybe you can put something in the description. I
will pin all of your links to the pinned comment when this gets published. All right, man.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Oh, and Nate and Eric, check it out.
Will do. See you soon, man. I like Eric. I like Nate. I like Robert Barnes. The amazing thing. I'm gonna take these out now. The amazing thing about this YouTube journey, I say, when you get old, you don't make new friends. And I never had that many friends to begin with. I think what I consider to be the same 6 friends I've had for my entire life. I'm reading the chats. I don't want to bring up some of the chats because I'll bring this one up. Viva, you've tried to wake people up and even run for office. No shame in leaving a burning building. I said I would run before I ran. I'm just saying, we'll see what the future holds, but we're living in a country where freedom is becoming criminalized, and that's it. So I've had the same friends since childhood, and I realize that as you get older, it becomes a little more difficult to make friends. And it's also awkward. Like, you make friends and you think you're good friends, and then it's awkward, and I don't need friends. But this YouTube thing has been the most amazing thing because literally the people I've met first, through the channel, and then actually in real life, went down to New York the month before COVID hit. I went down to New York and met Nate Brody in person. And I went down and met Nate Brody in person. Then the world went off the deep ends. And I made Nate a bet in April or May of 2020. I said, dude, we will have a martini on the dock by the lake at my parents' cottage. And 2 years. Still can't do that. I guess we can do it now in theory. If anybody wants to come to Canada and have to download the ArriveCan app, potentially be quarantined for 2 weeks. I mean, I know people who don't want to visit Canada anymore. But anyways, all I say, get to the good stuff. I met Nate the Great Brody. I met Barnes. I met Eric. met Rakeda, met Robert Govea, met all of the amazing community. And we're not all equally close in terms of friends, but I got to meet Tim Pool. So the YouTube thing has been amazing, but meeting people who have become your actual friends, Nate, Robert, Eric, it's very, very weird. It's very cool. It's very surreal. Allison Morrow as well. One day I'll get to meet Allison in person. Okay, let's see what we got here. I got 514, which is the area code for Montreal. My great grandpa had to bail from Sweden because of those kinds of horrible situations around 1900. It worked out. Treat it as an adventure. Hey, my grandfather was the only one in his family that left. I don't want to draw those analogies because they're clearly different in material ways. But the people that I've met at the Ottawa protests who said I fled communism, I fled Hungary, Poland. I can't even now think of the countries. Russia, Venezuela. The people who I've met, they said I fled these countries. I fled this, and now I see it here. And I talked about it during the protest. It was just the Depp verdict. The Depp versus Heard verdict is in. Microphones are set up. No, I know. The question is whether or not I can actually go for another hour to get there without looking like I'm deliberately trying to slow things down. Any updates on James Top? We had him on the channel last week, so he's been plugging along well. James Top is the individual who's marching across Canada, canadamarches.ca, marching to Ottawa, and he's been doing good. He's doing good. He's doing good, people. He is scheduled to arrive in Ottawa on June 1st, I want to say. No, that's not possible because today's June 1st. July 1st. There were some rumors that he had gotten fined for doing what he was doing. We clarified that he got a military reprimand for speaking out against the government while in uniform, but that predated the march. So nothing to do with it was not to sanction the march itself, although it's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time before speech is criminalized, that easily in Canada. After the protest, people, and I was open about my donation to the convoy before the doxing, before the list was provided. When you live in a country where you actually have to worry about whether or not your bank account is going to get frozen because you donated to a federally incorporated not-for-profit, when you live in a country where 12-year-old kids or 13-year-old kids can't play sports if they're not vaccinated and have to get turned off of a soccer field because their coach is asking them for their proof of vaccination, it's not just that you're not living in a free country. You're living in a psychologically, spiritually, and emotionally abusive country. There were kids at my kid's school. My kid goes to try out for soccer. They get turned away from the field in front of their friends because they either refused to show or could not show full vaccination. That is child abuse. Period. State-sanctioned abuse. Oh, but they took it away. They took it away. That's great. So, in fact, what they did was they implemented a policy that was abusive, discriminatory, unconstitutional, in the absence, obviously, of any scientific justification, because they revoked it just as quickly. And I'm supposed to say, good, thank you. You stopped hitting me for today? No. There was an excellent line in 1883. Sam Eliot asks a European immigrant, "What is illegal where you're from?" Nothing except paying taxes. What is illegal where you're from? Nothing except paying taxes. I'm going to have to think about this one, Real Bambuga, because I know I'm being dense again because I'm trying to think and do things at the same time. Hold on. I'm screenshotting this. I'm going to chat. Explain it to me. Explain it like I'm 5. Okay. Well, that would explain it. At least I've met some digital people, Real Bamboonga as well. Legal. Damn it, I said it wrong. So hold on. Let me go back to the chat. We're going to read it properly here. There was an excellent line in 1883. Sam Eliot asks a European immigrant, "What is legal where you're from?" Nothing except paying taxes. Now it makes sense, Bambugo. Thank you. This is like, now let me just go see. I think I got an email. I got a call that I'm going to have to take later, but let me just see. Oh, we're set for tonight, people. Dinesh D'Souza, 2,000 Mules, exclusively on Rumble. I'm going to go live for 15 minutes on YouTube just to make sure everybody knows where to go. Who's got, in fact, that's what I wanted to do. This was a little prep work. Give me some questions for Dinesh. I think I'm going to get to them in any event. I mean, I think I can think of all the questions I want to ask him, but if anybody knows anything, any dirt on Dinesh, scandals that I haven't already read about, it's amazing watching, reading up on people who are politically persona non grata, and what is being reported on them. Remember when I first looked up James O'Keefe before I even really knew who he was? Just outrageous. Not all Give Send Go people were refunded. Just saying. Interesting. I did not know that, and I can ask the CEO. I had my goodness, I'm losing my mind. Jacob on the channel, the CEO, and I was refunded. I know that I got refunded, but so Dinesh, just watching. Dinesh did his time for his epiction donation. He is clean. Everyone is moving to Rumble. There's you can't ignore the elephants in the room. And when I had Cernovich on for the first time, I spent an hour talking to him or asking him about his elephants in the room, and now I realize that when he said it just gets boring to go through this every time, I understand what he meant, because nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. Some people are much more imperfect than others. There has to be some leeway to forgiveness in this world, because if there's not, everyone is going to be forever, doomed. I do not think Barnes had Putin cancel you, sir. He meant election. Okay. So anyways, so Dinesh D'Souza tonight on Rumble exclusive. Reading some of the chats here. Why is Rumble not live right now? Because I have not figured out, and I don't think it's possible to set up a stream for the future and then run a stream in the interim. So it seems that you can't do that. If I've made the mistake, I'll make sure with Rumble. But and if I have not made the mistake, I'm going to make sure Rumble, fixes that hiccup so that I can set a live stream on Rumble for 3 days from now, but then continue to do spontaneous live streams on Rumble in the interim. Tonight, 7 o'clock, 1900 Eastern Time. Okay. Now, I did have stuff in the backdrop. Let me go see. There was another story that I wanted to bring up. This. I don't remember if I talked about this yesterday. I don't remember if I talked about this. Let me make sure that we're on the same page. Ideologically and physically. Okay. John Collins, I don't know who the person is. Looks like a lawyer, JD, Juris Doctorate, 121,000 followers. You see these tweets, and then you're not sure if it's parody or not. That's the world in which we are living, where John Collins asks, quote, "What is a woman?" end quote, and then answers his own question, "Someone who identifies as one, you ignorant pricks." And then if Ricky Gervais says this, you know that it's a joke. You know that it's satire. You know that it's astute observational comedy. But then there are other people who quite literally say it seriously. What is a woman? You've got, I don't play these games, but just going by the avatar, what appears to be a white male defining a woman as, I'll tell you what a woman is, whatever I say a woman is. You have quite literally a man denying quite literally the existence of woman and womanhood, and then being a jerk about it. It's whoever identifies as a woman, you ignorant prick. You ignorant pricks. As if if I happen to disagree with the fact that what one determines that they identify as determines their identity. If I have, you know, issues with that or questions about that, that makes me an ignorant prick. And I'm saying, like, what can be more misogynistic? What can define misogyny more succinctly and more acutely than a man basically telling a woman that to be what she is whatever anyone identifies themselves as? It's nothing more than a man saying, I literally say you do not exist. And I said it. And I don't you know, the difference is between saying what do you feel like versus what are you are two different things. And if one says, well, what do you identify as? Well, that's a much different question than what is. What are you as a purely biological entity? And if you dare say what you identify as is different than what you are, because one is your own perception, the other is a biological, scientific, definitional fact, you're an ignorant prick. Not because you're saying that they should be treated any different. Absolute equality in all respects. Live and let live, to each their own. You know, someone who tattoos their arm, their eyelids down to the fingertips. Okay, not necessarily something I would do. To each their own. Doesn't affect me, and I'm not going to stop them from doing it. But if you call someone an ignorant prick because you think that there are biological definitions of certain things, regardless of how an individual feels, there's an ignorant prick in that equation, and it ain't me. But that's getting to this. That's getting to this story in the BBC, which is, you know, it's you I don't know how to describe it, because it's effectively denying people's existence. You're not affirming the existence of a transgender individual by denying the existence of a biological male or a biological female. And in fact, you're causing harm in both respects. Are we seeing this thing here? Let me see. I've lost my screen. StreamYard. Okay, good. So let's get to this article from the BBC, which is, you know, again, it was a Ricky Gervais stand-up bit. Ricky Gervais literally just did a piece on this. I don't want to show it because first of all, I think it'll either get copy striked by a very aggressive copyright holders, or it'll just get me in trouble on Twitter. And this is not a question of being a coward. This is just a question of, you know, knowing what fights to pick. This is an article from the Daily Wire. BBC changes victim's statement to avoid misgendering. You can read those words. We'll just, you know. So I'm intrigued. They changed the statement. I'll just be hypercritical for the sake of being hypercritical for the Daily Wire. They didn't change the statement. What's the word? They redacted, or it's not redacted. It's I guess they didn't change the statement itself. They just omitted and indicated an omission. We'll get there. But I mean, so if we're nitpicking, because if PolitiFact goes and does a fact check on this article from the Daily Wire, they're going to say, no, the BBC didn't. The BBC did not change the victim statement. They merely redacted and clearly indicated the redaction. The British Broadcasting Corporation reportedly changed a victim's statement in order to avoid the backlash that could have been sparked if they had allowed her to publicly misgender her aggressor. According to a report from the Times of London, the BBC, this is now the Daily Wire reporting on the Times of London, reporting on the BBC, but I don't think the underlying facts of this story are going to be much disputed, but if they are, then I'm curious to know. The BBC published a story about a woman who claimed that she had been assaulted, but her alleged attacker was a transgender woman. So I believe that means biological male, identifies as female, and therefore is referred to as a transgender woman. So a biological male who identifies as female is a transgender woman. A biological woman who identifies as male is a transgender man. so as not to get confused. The BBC changed the testimony after a debate over the pronouns of her transgender attacker, the Times reported. The woman referred to her alleged as a him, but insiders, I'll approach it with a certain requisite degree of skepticism, said that her words were changed to avoid misgendering the abuser in an article on the corporation's website. The report went on to say that throughout the statement, every incident where the pronouns of he or him had been used, the BBC altered the language to read they or them. Okay. So now it would look like if they did not put the words in indicating like, square brackets, or they just changed it, that would be changing. To the extent that they indicated they made the change so that a reader knows that they changed them. Although, hold on, here we go. Let's see here. Let's just see what the actual... So this is the original statement. I was too young to argue. Oh, quote, the woman reportedly told the BBC, I was too young to argue and had been brainwashed by queer theory. So he was a woman, even if every fiber of my being was screaming throughout. So I agreed to go home with him. He used physical force when I changed my mind upon seeing his penis and went on to assault me, the media reported. Okay. Then the same statement in the BBC has the square brackets, which I think to most people indicates something was substituted. Typically, it might be a name. Typically, they do it to add clarity and not to redact a word. So this might qualify as modifying the statement if we're just going to argue semantics. But listen to how they changed it, allegedly. They threatened to out me as a TERF. And this is a term I'd never heard before. We'll get there in a second. And risk my job if I refused to sleep with them. I was too young to argue and had been brainwashed. We got this. So they were a woman, even if every fiber of my being was screaming throughout. So I agreed to go home with them. They used physical... By the way, you know why this is a very serious problem? This sounds like it might have been a gang type incident, multiple people, because linguistically, they is more than one person. And when they say they use physical force on me, this now sounds like there were multiple people involved in the act, in the alleged aggression. The article in question was published by the BBC in November of 2021 and was titled, Get the L Out, and it addressed the issues surrounding lesbians who felt as though they were being pressured to engage in relations with transgender women, biological males, who were still biologically male. Here, look at this. This is where we learn what the term TERF means. I've had someone saying that they would rather... Okay, we don't need to read that part. Had been called everything from transphobic to TERF, trans exclusionary radical feminist, and had been openly threatened with violence. So you imagine now, I'm going to just bring this down for a second. You imagine now that we go from a man literally saying, I'll tell you what the definition of a woman is, and it's not what you think it is. It's whatever I say. Basically, it's whatever anyone says. I am now saying, you ignorant pricks, what it means to be a woman is what anyone says. You no longer actually have an existence, an independent existence, and I'm saying it. And now we're going into this. I've never even appreciated this dynamic of the debate. I've never appreciated this dynamic of the debate where you have, at one point in time, gay rights, homosexual rights were something that people had to fight for, they had to riot for. And now you get into a world where a group who historically has been marginalized is the word, or discriminated against is probably the more appropriate word. The homosexual community, who have had to fight for equal rights, are now themselves being demonized within this hierarchy. I mean, I don't even know how to qualify it. I think Tim Pool calls it the intersectionality of identity politics. You now have gays and lesbians who apparently from this article, from this expose, are being demonized within the community because what makes them who they are, attracted to the same sex, a woman, a lesbian, a woman who is attracted to women, which presumably means women biology. And whether or not it's a choice or, you're born that way, they've had to fight for the right to be that way. And now you have lesbians, and I presume the same might hold true of the male community. I don't know. This is very much news to me, or new to me. Lesbians who are being pressured into apparently engaging in acts which defy their very their very existence, the very identity that they've had to fight for, and engage in activity with people who identify as women, and therefore definitionally under this Orwellian dictionary are women, according to John Collins, who calls everyone who disagrees with him an ignorant prick. If you're a lesbian and you don't agree that this biological male who identifies as a woman is a woman, and you don't engage with them as though they were a woman because you're a lesbian, you're an ignorant prick. I mean, imagine how that must feel, or how that would feel to a lesbian, to be called an ignorant prick because they believe that to be a woman means something. Otherwise, if it didn't mean anything, what would make a lesbian person a lesbian? So it's Orwellian. It's parody. It's Babylon Bee, the Onion, becoming reality. That you have this guy telling women what you don't exist. And by the way, if you're a lesbian woman and you only want to engage in what you feel to be your natural preferences with other biological women, you're an ignorant prick. Yep. Anyway, so that's it. I found that interesting, shocking. Didn't know what TERF meant, and learning things which are interesting. Let me go back to. Hold on one second. Let me just go back here. What is a woman? Okay, so I think we're on the same thing. There were some other interesting things that we can talk about for the next 40 minutes. / the Viva Fry. This Twitter has become my diary. This is not the. Oh, the Gray Lady winked. So I finally finished the Gray Lady winked today. We'll get to that. We'll get to that tweet in a second. I finished the Gray Lady winked. It's eye-opening. It's eye-opening and it's shocking. I have been, I guess, unconscious. So I guess unaware. I've been unaware. I remember the Second Iraq War, weapons of mass destruction. I remember everyone, intelligence. We had it was the talking point. It was the across state lines of the time. 6 intelligence agencies, the MI6, CIA, FBI. What's the French one? What's the French intelligence that all had reports? I just took my shoes off. That confirmed Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. What was the French one? Oh, it doesn't matter. Actually, I don't know if that's it, but I was 21 or 22 at the time. Yep. They said weapons of mass destruction, violating UN resolutions. They're not proving the destruction of the enriched uranium, whatever it was that they were making. MI6, CIA, FBI, GWB comes out and says, weapons of mass destruction, we got to go invade. Shock and awe. They televised a war. And I remember, I don't regret, I've sort of adopted the James O'Keefe perspective on certain things. There's some things I still regret. I remember watching this on the nightly news. Oh, look how amazing it is. The military might, the military power. Shocking. Watching a war, watching the destruction of a nation. And I remember seeing it in real time. I didn't appreciate that, the 250,000 civilians that they killed to find weapons, which we now know, they probably knew never existed. And now that I know how these things work, how these expert intelligence reports work, damn well they could say the corruption. It's not GWB sitting down with the James Comey or James Clapper, whomever, Abe, whatever that guy's name is. It's not, they don't sit down with a briefcase full of cash and say, hey, make me that report. Everybody knows what needs to be said in order to achieve the objective that everyone wants to achieve because of their shared military, political, industrial complex objectives. France has 6 intelligence agencies. See how those work. Yeah, well, I can say it's not a briefcase full of cash. George W. doesn't sit down with the intelligence and say, make me a report that says. They know what they have to do. They know, they go through that same laundering of fake information that they went through with Trump. Someone leaking it to Yahoo News, the PP dossier. Then the FBI says, look, Yahoo News is reporting on it to a secret court. And the secret court gives them exactly what they need, and they know how it works. They know the game. Back in the day, you don't have to tell the intelligence agency what they need. Oh, we have some reports of there's no evidence of the destruction of the uranium. How you prove a negative in any event? They didn't do it the way the UN said. So we suspect that they do. Come out. I have this report, and let's do it. They killed 250,000 Iraqi civilians. And then I remember, as they were not finding the weapons of mass destruction, that they had evidence from the intelligence agencies were there, they shifted the debate. They shifted the argument. And they said at the time, well, in the first week of the war, Saddam Hussein was launching Scud missiles at Israel. And I remember it. It says they were launching Scud missiles at Israel, and they weren't allowed to have Scud missiles under the UN resolutions that they were violating. So they had their weapons of mass destruction. And I remember arguing that as a basis to support the war. I said they weren't supposed to have Scud missiles. I mean, this is I'd love to hear how ignorant and naive I sounded at the time. It's like, yeah, well, they weren't supposed to have Scud missiles. So even that proves that there were some weapons that they weren't allowed to have, and therefore it's justified. And, watching death and destruction in real time as a means of entertainment for a Western society while they obliterate another country. Oh, wow. I've actually totally lost where I was going with this. But so I'm wet behind the ears. And getting back to the New York Times. Okay, my goodness. Now, if I knew then what I knew now, I mean, how differently I would have looked at things. There are people who still trust the New York Times. I mean, there are people who still think the New York Times is not the arbiter of truth, but rather just, as good as it gets for information. And this book, The Gray Lady Winks, let me just go to, let me just do one thing here. The Gray Lady Winks, and I will share the Amazon link for anybody who wants to get it. You need to get it, and you need to read it, or not get it, but that's not going to work. Let's see if that works. They go through basically the 6 or 7 biggest stories that the New York Times you don't get things wrong like this. Everything that they described for each and every one of these cataclysmically disastrous fake news stories that were propagated by the New York Times, the MO is the same every single time. The New York Times at one point was downplaying Durante. Let me just see. Durante, journalist. What was his name? Walter Durante. The New York Times was downplaying the Soviet atrocities, downplaying, outright ignoring the Holodomor, the Ukrainian famine, Ukrainian Holocaust, depending on who you ask, downplaying Hitler, Nazi Germany, downplaying, if not outright ignoring, the nuclear fallout, no pun intended, in Hiroshima, for the benefit of the government whom had infiltrated or was for the benefit of the government that they were effectively acting for, as opposed to scrutinizing. Walter Durante. I mean, I never heard of the guy until this is how ignorant I am. Never heard of Walter Durante, but let's just pull up son of a bee sting. Oh, because I'm on the same thing. Okay, gosh darn it. I can't get here. Walter Durante. Put this here, and let's just go read a little bit of Walter Durante. Walter Durante was an Anglo-American journalist who served as Moscow bureau chief for the New York Times for 14 years, following the Bolshevik victory in the Russian Civil War. 1932, Durante received a Pulitzer Prize for a series of reports about the Soviet Union, 11 of which were published in June 1931. He was later criticized for his subsequent denial of the widespread famine. He's the correspondent in Russia. He was criticized for his denial of the widespread famine, 1930 to 1933, most particularly the Holodomor. Beginning in 1990, there were calls for the Pulitzer Prize to revoke Durante's prize. The Pulitzer Board declined to revoke the award, and in 2003 said the articles which it examined in making the award did not contain clear and convincing evidence of deliberate deception. Let's just get to the let's get to this. The New York Times, I know we're on Wikipedia, people, but you know, if the New York Times is running something that's, you know, negative to the narrative, nothing here, I'm sorry, the Wikipedia. If the Wikipedia is running something that's, you know, relatively negative to the narrative or to the interest that you know that they're protecting, then it adds a little more credibility. In the New York Times on 31 March 1933, Walter Duranty denounced reports of a famine, and in particular, he attacked Gareth Jones, a British journalist who had witnessed the starving in Ukraine and issued a widely published press release about their plight 2 days earlier in Berlin, under the title, Russians Hungry But Not Starving. Just think of that. Hungry but not starving. It almost sounds like slightly fiery but mostly peaceful protests. Russians hungry but not starving. Duranty's article described the situation as follows. In the middle of the diplomatic duel between Great Britain and the Soviet Union over the accused British engineers, there appears from a British source a big scary story in the American press about famine in the Soviet Union with, quote, thousands already dead and millions menaced by death and starvation. He went on to say that, you know, there were restaurants in Russia. Here, listen to this. Well, the diplomatic duel was a reference to the arrest of engineers from this is a little bit detail that we're not going to really get into here. 5 months later, in another New York Times article, Duranty wrote, any report of a famine in Russia today is today an exaggeration or malignant propaganda. The food shortage, however, which has affected the whole population in the last year, and particularly in the grain-producing provinces, the Ukraine, North Caucasus, yada, yada, has, however, caused heavy loss of life. Any report of a famine in Russia today is an exaggeration or malignant propaganda, but there's been a huge loss of life in Ukraine and other regions. This book goes through all of these stories. The Ukrainian famine, Hitler. And then it got to the one in the Intifada, where the New York Times effectively ran a story which they knew or ought to have known was total bunk, total propaganda, unverified, edited video. You all remember it. Let me see if I can pull this up as well. You all remember it. I remember it. It was a 12-year-old kid and his father or grandfather who apparently got caught in the crossfire of fighting between Israeli soldiers and Palestinian fighters. 12-year-old. Hold on, I'll get it. Muhammad al-Dura. Yeah, this is it. Let's get this story. I mean, images which you remember watching in real time and being horrified by. And then, you know, the stories come out. And it's not like, you know, people say false flags as though it's this totally staged event. The incident apparently happened, but not in any way that the media reported on it. And this led, I mean, this led to real life violence that lasted years. On the killing of Muhammad al-Dura on September 30, 2000, the second day of the Second Intifada, a 12-year-old Muhammad al-Dura was killed in the Gaza Strip during widespread protests and riots across the Palestinian territories against Israeli military occupation. Jamal al-Dura and his son Muhammad were filmed by Talal al-Burama, a Palestinian television cameraman freelancing for France 2, as they were caught in crossfire between Israeli and Palestinian security forces. Footage shows them crouching behind a concrete cylinder, the boy crying and the father waving, then a burst of gunfire and dust. Muhammad is shown slumping as he is mortally wounded by gunfire, dying soon after. The 59 seconds of the footage, with a voiceover from Charles Enderlin, the situation's bureau chief in Israel. Based on information from the cameraman, Enderlin told viewers that the al-Duras had been the target of fire from the Israeli positions and that the boy had died. After an emotional public funeral, Muhammad was hailed throughout the Muslim world as a martyr. Let's just get to the let's get to the controversy. And I think I'm going to search for New York Times after this. 3 mainstream narratives emerged after the shooting. The early view that Israel gunfire had killed the boy developed into the Palestinian position that because of the trajectory of these shots, Palestinian gunfire was more... The early view that Israel gunfire had killed the boy developed into the position that because of the trajectory of the shots, Palestinian gunfire was more likely to have been responsible. This view was expressed in 2005. When did this happen? 5 years later. In the wake of this incident, I remember living through it in real time. I remember it, 5 years later. Oh, and then you got a fourth minority position held that the scene was staged by Palestinian protesters to produce a martyr child, at least the appearance of one. Oh, anyhow, it's a whole controversy. The bottom line, they went to trial, and it turns out, as far as expert evidence afterwards, that the initial reports were inaccurate, wildly inaccurate. And, the same way the New York Times reported on Brian Sicknick's death being caused by Trump supporters, skeptical journalists or responsible journalists from day one would have been just that, responsible. In 2005, Major General Giora Island publicly retracted the IDF's admission of responsibility, and statement to that effect was approved by the Prime Minister's office. You can take this with a grain of salt as well, because obviously, Israel wants to... The consensus was the initial timeline, the initial story was not accurate. There's too much here, but this is another one of the stories that they go through. But bottom line, it was wrong from day one, and it actually led to years of violence. Wikipedia is not totally useless. You need to approach it with skepticism. But when they go out and give you a narrative that's contrary to what you think that their inherent interest would be, you can probably know that they have to report on certain things mildly accurately. So, anyways, the book goes through 7 or 8 big events: Holodomor, Holocaust, Soviet atrocities, atomic bomb, Al-Dura story. And you realize that the New York Times has just always been. It has always been propaganda, misinformation. And that's it. And now once you know of these stories, it's impossible to go back to it. How it's retained its position in this world. I won't say institutionalized corruption, but it's the institution. It's government, intelligence, and media, each propping each other up. There's that old. It's a great riddle. If you take 3 equally long butter knives, and you take 3 glasses, and you move the 3 glasses each just a half, just far enough away from each other that the knives don't fit as a bridge between any 2 cups or any one of the 3 cups. And you take those 3 knives and you try to figure out how to make a bridge so that you can support a glass of water. So just if everyone can get that, I don't want to even show the answer. Take 3 butter knives of equal length, 4 cups, use 3 cups, set them in a triangle, each just a little bit further from each other than the knives are long. Make a bridge between any 2 cups, strong enough to support a glass of water. That's what the media, the government, and intelligence are. And that is the only way that anyone can possibly explain how the New York Times can still retain the slightest bit of credibility, given their historical, egregious propaganda over and over again that fits the exact same MO over and over again. Mostly fiery, but slightly fiery, but mostly peaceful protests. And when there were, in Nazi Germany, incidents of gangs beating up Jewish citizens, and the New York Times wanted to, they didn't want to report on it for what it was, because you're holding the Olympics in Berlin, and if you have to report that this country's a intolerant fascistic state that's discriminating against specific minorities makes it kind of hard to go there and have an international brotherly love sporting event. So what do? Exactly what they did during the Summer of Love. Eliminate identity from the equation when identity is in the equation, and conversely, infuse identity into a situation where it doesn't otherwise exist. This channel is one big opinion piece sometimes. Other times we talk about lawsuits. Although maybe you meant that as a comment, as a compliment. TS. And then, by the way, it's not one big opinion piece, because I've literally gone over the examples, the concrete examples, as documented in the book "The Gray Lady Winked." And then I've given some opinion. So yeah, the world is filled with facts and opinion, and some facts are actual facts, and some opinions are more well-founded and more well-grounded than others. Oh, and then okay, so that's it. That was the Gray Lady Winked. It's a good read. So I would recommend it to everyone. Now let's go back to Twitter for 1 second, because if not, what do we have? 20 minutes? We can do this. I might have to go to the little boys' room for 1 second, and I might have to get a yerba mate. What else was there? Oh, yes. Here we go. Okay. Hold on, people. You know what? Actually, this is going to work out well.
Listen to this.
I'm going to play it, and then I'm going to run to the little boys' room and to get a yerba mate. Here we go. Updates. Updates. I will give updates when there's news to update. I'm superstitious, and I'm also, by the way, updates when there are updates. I promise. Let's play this, and then let's run. I'll be back in 1 minute. 3, 2, 1.
But it wasn't just the president who got it wrong a year or so ago. I want to play for you what you said about inflation last year. Listen to this.
Is there a risk of inflation? I think there's a small risk, and I think it's manageable. I don't anticipate that inflation is going to be a problem, but it is something that we're watching very carefully.
Was it a mistake, Madam Secretary, to downplay this inflation risk? Did that contribute to the problems we're all seeing right now?
Well, look, I think I was wrong then about the path that inflation would take. As I mentioned, there have been unanticipated and large shocks to the economy that have boosted energy and food prices, and supply bottlenecks that have affected our economy badly, that I at the time didn't fully understand.
What did I miss? Was there too much echo? I realized I probably should have muted myself. I need to refresh my memory on what she said. This is.
But it wasn't just the president who got it wrong a year or so ago. I want to play for you what you said about inflation last year. Listen to this.
Is there a risk of inflation? I think there's a small risk, and I think it's manageable. I don't anticipate that inflation is going to be a problem.
Can we all appreciate, by the way, I understand Yellen's role in life. She's got framed money on the wall. Just appreciate that for optics. Now let's go back to the verbal diarrhea.
But it is something that we're watching very carefully.
Was it a mistake, Madam Secretary, to downplay this inflation risk? Did that contribute to the problems we're all seeing right now?
Well, look, I think I was wrong then about the path that inflation would take. As I mentioned, there have been unanticipated and large shocks to the economy that have boosted energy and food prices, and supply bottlenecks that have affected our economy badly, that I at the time didn't fully understand.
There is strictly one thing for the the Treasury Secretary to do after that statement: resign. Strictly one thing to do: resign. I'm an idiot. I'm an economic idiot, and I understood the risks, and I heard people who I know are smarter than me warn of the risks in real time at the time. I remember people making fun of the idea that inflation was transitory. They were making fun of it at the time, and they were presenting the arguments to explain why it's not transitory. I mean, I think it was George Gammon who we had on the channel. This is like a doctor saying it's not cancer. It's that sweltering. What's the word I'm looking? Excuse me. What's the word I'm looking for? What is the word? A wound. That festering, gangrenous wound on your side. It's not cancer. Sorry. Okay, it's cancer. My bad. You know, I was looking at it. It was my mistake. There are some mistakes that professionals can make, and then there are some that make them negligent. Sorry, no, festering wound was the word I was looking for. She's on record denying it multiple times in real time. It's transitory. It's not a big deal. It's going to go away. You're either a liar or you're an idiot, and I mean an idiot in the absolute incompetent moronic sense. And in which case, either way, you need to resign. And period. Not only does she have framed money on the wall, but her camera was intentionally offset to show the framed money. So framed money. Touche, Bambunga. It's inexcusable. It's inexcusable. There's no way to get. I was wrong then. My goodness, things have changed in 2 months. If only I were listening to what people were saying at the time. Oh, I'm sorry. We were wrong about the weapons of mass destruction, but 250,000 dead people later, and other stuff. Mea culpa. Ooh, so sorry. Mi scusi. These are not mistakes that people at the highest levels of government can make, and they're inexcusable given what smart people were saying at the time. And by the way, you want to say mutatis mutandis? We're going to be hearing this as relates to another massive phenomenon. We didn't know. Oh, Barnes is in the house. We didn't know. And okay, Robert, I'm bringing you in. Robert,
the verdict's in.
I know. 13 minutes.
Yeah, in about 14 minutes.
Robert, I haven't had you in full frame for a while.
Got the Viva Barnes hat.
Well, the hat's beautiful, but if I may, it's not to be the backhanded compliment. You look extremely good. Have you lost? I'm almost on vacation. Tomorrow starts it, and I got my Cuban shirt ready to go. Got my cigar. Now all we need is for the verdict to come in. Johnny Depp wins. I recommended the bet at plus 160. He was an underdog yesterday, so I want to see some cash, and then I want them to order Amber Heard to do a walk of shame. Isn't that a small thing? Game of Thrones style walk of shame. I think that'd be apropos. Well, Robert, you're looking thinner. I'm not going crazy, right?
I suppose so. I don't keep track.
Okay, but you look good. You always look good.
I always look good. Yeah, exactly. I always look good.
No, it's the terrible thing. Like it's like when you tell someone they look. It's always. Anyways, I have to say because it's remarkable.
Yeah, it's always. Hey, now you look good.
Okay, well, at least the chat notices it as well. So, Robert, your prediction is from the question.
At least one verdict. All I need to win the bet is for them to say Amber Heard's liable on one count of defamation. Don't need any amount of money. Don't need all three. Just need one. That's what we're cheering for. Me Too can be men too. Johnny Depp justice for Johnny Depp. But everybody's a little nervous. I predicted on Megyn Kelly that Johnny Depp would win. So by golly, it's got to come through.
When were you on Megyn Kelly?
Today.
Okay, fantastic. Robert, you took away from the question the same thing I took away from it, or when they come in yesterday and say, does it have to be the entire article or just the headline? What's your takeaway from that?
I presume that they're focused on, she made a statement about sexual violence. They wouldn't be looking at that separate from the whole article in all likelihood, unless they're looking at her being guilty on that count. Say, okay, maybe so, however you define abuse, maybe that could go either way, but she specifically said sexual violence. She backed it up on the stand with specific claims that were the least independently confirmed and least believable. And so they'll pin her on that one as a compromise verdict. You might have a split and say, well, at least this one. Well, we'll give you the other ones, but at least on this one, that this statement was false. And that would suffice for my bet. And, I know a lot of people care about Johnny Depp. A lot of people care about justice. I care about my bet.
So you did bet on this?
Yeah, you could. He went to an underdog plus more than plus 150, 39% chance that a verdict would come back in his favor. Wow. And I was like, I like them odds.
Amazing. Etienne de Gaulle says, happy to watch the verdict with both of you instead of those other law tubers. I love them all.
That's right. Let's put down down with the other law tubers, down with the other law. Viva only.
The OGs, Robert. We've been doing this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, we're the law fathers. Everybody else is beneath us. Just kidding, everybody. Just kidding.
It's a total joke. First of all, they've been doing it, and they've been doing it well day in and day out. So
yeah, Emily Baker, Nick Rekieta, Legal Bites, Nate the lawyer. There's a whole bunch of them now. There's like 50 people out there, so I'm not going to name them all, but you'll know who you are.
It's a beautiful thing. The only thing is that we've got to now cannibalize the people watching Law and Crime. 1 million people watching commentary-free law. It makes no sense. Although
and it's Law and Crime. Even though my friend Rachel Stockman is still editor there, Dan Abrams owns it. Last I checked, and he hasn't always been the most credible source when it comes to law.
Oh man, so this is intense. I mean, I was saying, I'm not as nervous. I'm not nervous, period. I'm interested. This is not like the Rittenhouse verdict where it was like life and death of an actual human.
I couldn't even be live for that because I was so nerve-wracked. I wanted to come back a certain way. Did come back that way, made me very happy, but I could not be live watching that verdict. Nah, probably just like couldn't be live the Sussman verdict. I'd have been screaming and cussing for like an hour. I already was last night on Bourbon with Barnes. The last edition of that till for a couple of weeks as I go on vacation. But that was an outrageous verdict. If this verdict doesn't come back in some way for Johnny Depp, it's a joke. The jurors are a joke. Anybody even within 100 miles of D.C. is a joke. Don't get anywhere. So it should be a Depp verdict. Maybe not a big amount of money, but it should be a Depp verdict.
Does the jury establish the quantum?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Really?
Has to be unanimous too. Has to be unanimous as to everything. Unanimous as to liability. Unanimous as to amount.
Let me ask you some technical questions then. Jury determines the quantum. Is that typical in a jury trial?
Oh, yes. In America, yes, absolutely. Jury always determines damages.
Okay. Oh, I'm an idiot. Actually,
judges determine sentencing at criminal cases. I think that's unconstitutional, but of course, what court's going to say, I don't have the power to sentence? No, of course not. I'm going to say, we've thought about it, and I, the judge, have the exclusive power. Yeah, of course you do.
Well, now that I'm thinking about it, in the Oberlin trial, the jury awarded the damages and the court reduced them afterwards. So it has to be, what happens if it's not unanimous on the quantum then?
I mean, there's no amount then. I mean, but if they're back, they got unanimous on both. They got unanimous on amount and they got unanimous on liability, which tells me 1 count for Johnny Depp. No other count probably is my guess because it feels like a compromise verdict potentially. And then, and I'm guessing still substantial 7-figure plus verdict. That was my prediction on Megyn Kelly.
I'm putting on the courtroom when it goes. Right now, I just have it in the background, and it's Law and Crime reporting, and I don't want to have their actual reporting on, but I'll, you know what? Maybe I'll get to Sky News. Johnny Depp. I'm a little nervous. I just, when I heard, and I believe, Robert, did you also hear that Amber Heard, it was Amber Heard who asked if she had to be present for the reading of the verdict?
That's my understanding. And you don't, in a civil case, you don't need, the parties do not need to be present. Often the parties don't have to be present for the trial itself, frankly. Usually a corporation has to have a representative present sometimes, but it depends on, but in criminal cases, you have a constitutional right to be present, but as a defendant, but in a, and they generally require you to be present as well. Civil proceedings, usually not, most states. And like Johnny Depp won't be there. He's in London.
Oh, he's not there. Okay. I thought
he was playing, he went with his band and, played a band. Also 6 weeks without much alcohol, or Johnny was probably a little eager.
Not that, no confession through projection, but I'm having a martini if I'm at trial all day. There's no way to.
I'm sure a lot of law tubers are. I mean, Nick Rekieta's basically been going no sleep for about 6 weeks.
Yeah, that's. Did I share the? Am I sharing the right screen? Okay? I did share the right screen. So we've got this. I'm going to go like this. I'm going to go back
pause
here.
for. I think it's on pause.
Son of a bee sting. Hold on. Yes, it is. Okay. Let's put the audio on.
Yeah, you see Johnny Depp's not there. Is that Amber Heard over there?
Her hair looks too.
That's her, isn't it?
That has to be. There was no one else with blonde hair like that. So we can see this. And now I'm
I don't
going
know if you were her, would you be there for the jury verdict if knowing that it should be bad?
Maybe she thinks it's good, Robert.
Yeah. I mean, that would be her redemption from the. You know how nerve-wracking it is for that all those lawyers in there.
God! I mean, it's
3 years, 4 years, everything there. The world's watching. Did you win big? Did you lose big?
Did you hear the rumors that Elaine was crying in the bathroom after the trial?
I heard that.
I heard that. I mean, these are things where like I don't know.
It can be emotionally exhausting, and having Amber Heard as a client would probably drive you nuts. Yeah, Johnny's already won in the court of public opinion, no doubt about that. I think he's satisfied no matter what the jury is. But if a jury came back against him, that would undermine the court of public opinion. It won't remove it, but it will undermine it for sure. Because they'll say, geez, a court in England and a jury in Virginia both said Johnny was guilty. That's not so good for Johnny.
What were the odds that Amber wins on her defamation?
They didn't even put those up because I guess those nobody thought that was worth a bet. Or at least from what I saw. All I saw was odds that Amber Heard would be found liable on a single count of libel. And at least one count of defamation.
She's going to absolutely lose it if she's ordered to pay.
That's interesting. Oh, yeah. It'll be interesting. She'll probably cry a lot. What do you think? If she loses, public crying, public demonstration of.
No, I think she'll just storm out stern.
Probably.
Or maybe she'll say, she'll pull a Jussie Smollett. Yell at the jury on the way out.
I didn't anticipate that. Did you anticipate that from Jussie Smollett?
That was what actually, like I'll say forgive everybody, forgive and forget. Not even forgive and remember. But that's what really pushed me over the top in terms of Jussie being incorrigible. He'll never admit it, and it's pathological.
By the way, they gave everybody a lot of time, over an hour. I guess maybe because of the media or whatnot. Usually, when I'm sitting on trial, civil case, criminal case, especially criminal cases, they say I got to be within there 10 minutes of the courthouse. So you have to sit right nearby the whole day. And if the jury keeps going on, you're there day after day after day.
Robert, Jussie Smollett is still out of jail pending his appeal, right?
Oh yeah, the Court of Appeals let him out. Let him out right away. He'll never do a day after the day he did.
What are the odds? Television networks will show a bunch of Depp movies after the verdict. This is Viva, your wish of a meltdown will finally come true. It's I don't.
I was Amber Heard. I would negotiate an OnlyFans exclusive deal. Get people really mad at her. That's the way to make some money.
Oh, I check the time, Viva. It is 2:57.
That's right. Clock is ticking. Tick, 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 tick.
Oh my goodness. Let me see.
I noticed I can even feel I'm getting like post-verdict syndrome effect or whatever it is.
I'm excited for this not to be in the news 24/7.
That's too bad. Think about it. Could have had a mistrial. Could have had LawTube. Could have had another 6 weeks of Johnny Depp. No, I don't think
appeals, Robert. How does it work? Like
she has robust appeals. She has robust appeals for a range of reasons. So whether or not now, I think she has to pay post bond though, or he can start collecting as soon as he wants. He may not care about collecting against her, but he might. That could be brutal. I mean, people don't. Here's the problem: because he's a public figure, defamation is not bankruptable in America. If it's considered intentional, in other words, because he's a public figure, you had to do it intentionally. That's an intentional tort. Most intentional torts, most often, are not subject to bankruptcy protection. So and you can get seized up to 30 times the minimum wage. I mean, people don't realize how much can be collected from you. So. She could be working for Johnny for the next 10 years of her life.
Maybe he just asks her to donate it to the to the ACLU.
Yeah, exactly.
The pledge will come to fruition today. Yep.
So that would be classic, wouldn't it? That'd be
classic. Well, he just couldn't direct it to the ACLU, but maybe to another charity that he actually likes, like the hospital.
Yeah, what he could say is, as soon as $7 million is paid to the hospital, then I'll release you from judgment.
Oops, hold on. I texted the wrong person. I gotta text someone to get my kid. We'll see if only one of them.
You want to text the wrong person to get your kid. Hey, will you go grab my kid?
Could you possibly pick? I'll see if I can make sure I'm right. Make sure I'm texting the right person. One of them if I can postpone one of them. If I can get one of them to get picked up.
Depp's team sure is relaxed. Herd's team looks tense.
Oh, Elaine's got it. This is the. I've never done a jury trial, so I've never heard a verdict like this. But I'd go and sit in the courtroom and listen to them read out the decision, and it is It's always nauseating. Butterflies are not the word.
In a criminal case, you know by whether the jury looks at you. If the jury looks at the defendant, chances are good of acquittal. If they don't, you're hung. I always tell people
1,800,000 people watching on Law and Crime. That is
nuts.
Nuts.
While I don't think we'll go back to the days of low ratings for trials, I don't think we'll have another Johnny Depp trial probably for a generation.
I'm thinking because we were talking with Eric Hunley popped on at lunch, even if Marilyn Manson goes to trial, it's never going to have
not
the
Johnny
same
Depp level
appeal as this.
No. It would require another big criminal case. I mean, this is the biggest case since OJ.
Yeah, Depp is not in the chat. Someone said estimated verdict time. Here it is.
The jury is walking into the room.
Please be seated.
All right.
Get my earphones on. Hold on, so we don't hear echo.
All right. Are we ready for the jury?
Are we ready for the jury?
All right.
Yes, Your Honor.
Just for everybody in the gallery, reminder that this is a court of law, and regardless of the verdict, I will not tolerate any outbursts whatsoever. Okay. Thank you.
That's a good color on the judge.
Actually, it actually matches the super chat. Hold on one second. Right here. Look at this. Perfect matching right there.
Yeah, it does.
Holy cows. Okay.
Come on, just one verdict for Johnny.
This will be the ultimate vindication if he scores this.
Amber Heard's dressed in all black. I guess she knew it was her funeral.
Son of a gun, I just dropped my phone. Damn it. Okay.
There's the verdict. So what happens? They give it to the bailiff. They walk it up to the court. The judge gets to see it before anybody else.
Oh my goodness. I have formally changed my opinion. I think Johnny's going to win. That's after having seen the evidence. Just coughing. All the people. Oh my goodness. I'm nervous for Amber.
If I get the attorney's approach for a moment.
Robert? Is this a hung jury?
No, because that wouldn't be a verdict.
Oh, I'm an idiot. I'm sorry. That's actually obvious. Are your hands sweating? You don't seem like I don't think you'd be the sweaty palms type, Robert, right?
I'm always not sweaty palm, just nervous as the dickens. Can't move during any trial. Never been able to get past that for a verdict. Nervous. Even when the case is, strongly in my favor or strongly against me, I'm still nerve-wracked. Never been able to get over that.
Does the judge have a Subaru? Oh, my goodness. This is not a vote. They have a verdict, and it's unanimous. So that's okay. Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, what I need you to do, I need to give the forms back to you. When you find for a defamatory statement, one or more, you need to fill out the compensatory damages. It has to be at least $1 for compensatory damages and up to whatever you feel the damages should be. And for punitive damages, you can put a 0 there, or you can fill out that as well. But I need those lines filled out. Okay.
They're going back
All right,
to.
so if I can have
They didn't fill out the damages, but they found for Johnny.
Oh my
They
goodness!
found at least one count for Johnny. That's is my assumption. It's small possibility they found for Amber Heard. No, look at what's her name's face.
Elaine knows.
Elaine was up
right
there. She already knows they lost. What does that tell you about American juries? God bless juries. I love juries. I champion juries more than anybody in the world. But you forgot to fill out the damages. You're like, hey, we got a verdict. Let's go home. Oh, the damages part. We got to fill. Oh, really? Golly. Fairfax
okay.
County.
But hold on, we got to see demeanor from Elaine Rottenborn, and what's going on? Just pay. Don't, cameraman, do not pan over. This is. Are they telling her? Are they getting her ready? Oh, Robert, the lawyer is allowed telling Amber the verdict now.
Yeah, that's my
Okay.
guess. Now
And
I can tell you, I've never seen this before. I've seen over 50 verdicts, one way, shape, or form, live in court, either part of the case or observer to the case. Never seen a jury that failed to fill out the damages part of a case.
Well, and it's like, why?
It had to be they had to drag it on a little bit longer. Get everybody nervous, eager. There's another one.
No, because
it's like a horror movie that just when you think they're dead, they pop back up.
Now we don't know how long this is going to be. This
could be a while. They didn't figure out the money? How did they not figure out the money?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, well, now here's a question. Someone just said poor jury instructions. Is this going to add any fuel to an appeal?
My bet is this judge probably had never seen this either. She was like, what the fuck? And that's why she called the lawyers up. By the way, they didn't fill out the money damages. I assume you're okay with me telling them to go back and fill out the money damages.
Oh my goodness. Is this grounds for a mistrial, Robert? If you want to get creative.
Nope. Not really. I mean, the things that really create mistrial risk are different things than this. This is just the jury didn't understand because here's the thing. Now, there's always the possibility if they voted no, they might have thought they could have just they didn't have to fill in, right? That is the possibility here, that they still voted no. And then if
it was sorry, what's the word? Dismissal. Unanimous dismissal.
If they said nobody's liable, they might have thought they didn't have to fill in any amount of damages. That is a possibility here.
But
the reason why I don't think that's what happened is because of what she said. She said, if you find for any count of defamation, you have to fill out at least an amount. And at least $1 or more. That's why I think it was a favorable Johnny verdict. With that, I've never seen before. Sometimes jurors do get confused when they say no, that there's still. Here's why I don't agree with this. I don't know what the Virginia rule is, but the general procedure is to get this right. The damages part is often a binding part, even if they rule against you, right? And here's the problem: if jurors say no liability, then they're always going to put 0, even though that's not what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to do, assuming yes, what would it have been? But they don't do that because that's not how they think. But that can often be, it can screw you on appeal for a range of reasons. So there is a chance of that, but I assume not because of how she phrased it.
You know what? Hold on. Let's go back to it and just see what the judge said. Hold on. Gosh darn it, with my fingers. My fingers are so clammy now. I can't actually even. The pad is not working. Okay, so
my other assumption is if this was for Amber, you would have seen a positive reaction at Amber right away.
Yep. Let's see this here. Okay, so now they come back, and now the judge is going to say what happened.
All right, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, what I need you to do, I need to give the forms back to you. When you find for a defamatory statement.
Okay, there you go. When you find for a defamatory statement.
Correct.
So that means they found for one.
One or more. You need to fill out the compensatory damages. It has to be at least $1 for.
And then she said, when you find for
at least $1. Woo! Barnes won to bet again. Always bet with Barnes. Always bet with Barnes.
No, also, she covered her butt on the 1 or more. So now it's going to be one defamatory statement. But she said it. When you find for a defamatory statement, 1 or more.
And for punitive damages, you can put a 0 there, or you can fill out that as well. But I need those lines filled out. Okay?
All right. That's it. That's definitive. Let's go back to real time. Holy crap. This is hilarious in the legal sense.
Yeah. I mean, pretty clear it's for Johnny. Great verdict that it was for Johnny. At least 1 count for Johnny. Always bet on Barnes. That's right.
That's a Wesley Snipes. That's a Wesley Snipes sentence. Always bet on black.
Yeah, exactly. And it was also a reporter for Bloomberg News said the same thing. Next time, bet with Barnes. So that by itself is big win. The money is kind of secondary at this point for because she doesn't have much. I don't know how much she has left. Maybe $1 million, maybe $2 million, but she doesn't have a ton left.
Is betting still open? I doubt it.
I doubt it. I haven't looked, but I doubt it.
Yeah, Barnes, we're putting it on a shirt. Always bet on Barnes. That's
that's it. Or just bet on Barnes.
They probably assumed the dollar was the full amount.
You never know. It could. But you know why it's not the focal point? It's because it was not the focal point in closings.
Mm-hmm.
It was not, neither side focused heavily on damages.
Let me see. Oh, that would be great! Exclamation point. If you could bring him by, period.
I do like the Virginia slogan.
Sic semper tyrannis. We went over it because I was fixated on the bad things to tyrants and didn't realize that there was a man standing on the chest of another man with a spear on him. Oh my goodness, this is outrageous.
If there's a criminal case, I'd tell Amber, now's the time to run.
You don't know, but maybe let's call a cab. We'll call an Uber.
Yeah. Ecuador's beautiful this time of year. It really is. So is Namibia. No extradition.
Well, no, but hold on. They didn't give a time amount. So, are they going to come back and say we might not have a quantum for hours? I mean, they might have to fight. They might have to fight over the quantum.
Oh yes, this could be a while. There's no reason why this will necessarily go quickly.
Emily Baker pointed out a small handshake between Camille and Ben Chu.
Yep.
Yeah, that could go.
It'll be great for Johnny. And I think good for justice overall. When I was on with Megyn Kelly, she said, look, the two sides of this potentially, the fallout is, will this just completely discredit domestic violence victims? Will this completely discredit or female domestic violence victims, completely discredit Me Too? And I said, I didn't think so. I didn't think it would have that fallout. I think it would just recognize abuse isn't dependent upon gender. And we shouldn't view this through a filter of gender. We should view this through a filter of what is and is not abuse. And what is abuse is what Amber Heard did. She was the abuser. Even if Johnny Depp didn't, and I still won't, some people have just justify everything Johnny did. I'm not one of those people. I think some of the things he did were not, I wouldn't tell my son to do. Wouldn't be proud of if I did myself. But he was not the abuser in this relationship. She was.
And Ethan Scott says, how is this not a loss for free speech? I mean, people have
because she made a specific factual statement about a specifically identified individual that could be provably false. So that's the key. Now, it's close. That's why she has robust appeals. Her statements are close to being vague enough to be protected opinion outside of the context of a verifiable fact. But here's the reality. She chose not to pursue the First Amendment defense when she decided to expound on all of the allegations. So she could have said the sexual violence allegation wasn't against Johnny. It was, in the first paragraph, is talking about someone else. That being representative of violence was just talking about how I became the representative, not anything specific to Johnny. And she would have she could have won, but she didn't. She said she decided to expound and create one fake story after the next. That was just nuts. You get brutally assaulted with a bottle. You get pounded on with a guy with rings on your face and your head. You get strangled by your neck, and you have to walk across broken glass, and you've got no signs of any physical injury when you took photos all the time.
Yeah. False allegation. I mean, this is it. Free speech is not the freedom to make up lies to destroy any individual's life. It's period. So
it's a specifically identifiable fact, verifiable fact about a specifically identifiable individual. Those are the two constitutional requirements to be outside of the free speech clause. So you don't get to lie about people, now, and you do get to lie about them if they're a public figure, unless you know you're lying about them. And that's what they had to decide with Amber Heard. And the reality is the evidence was overwhelming here.
Oh yeah, the absence of evidence was overwhelming. The actual malice was knowing it was factually incorrect or reckless disregard for the truth.
She proved that when she made her believability the centerpiece of the trial by expounding and extending the allegations in ways that sounded incredulous. I mean, people can watch the behavior panel break it down. They called it one of the worst presentations they'd seen, in the sense of she's leaking deception all over the place. And so, it was her fault, I think, mostly, more than her lawyer's fault, because I think she was directing this defense more than the lawyers are. And turns out she's as good a director as she is an actress.
People like the hat, Robert. Everyone, the hat is Viva Barnes U. It is the Viva Barnes.
Where can they get it?
At vivafry.com, all centralized merch.
Right.
And it's all
you
there.
You too can be a proud graduate of Viva Barnes University.
Where's mine? Where's my hat?
And because of the trucker convoy, it's a trucker hat in honor of the truckers.
I don't have my trucker's hat, but I have a fedora that I bought for my wife at a gas station for her birthday.
Yeah, the combination of this and the Cuban shirt going well together.
May I ask where you're going on vacation? Roughly.
New Orleans, down to Louisiana.
Really?
Haven't been there in about a decade. Last client I had in New Orleans, I was on my third visit there, and for the client, and I was meeting with a lawyer, and the lawyer says, "Now, by the way, your client has a history of writing bad checks, by the way." And they both government lawyers laughed, and they said, "Hope he didn't get paid by a check." And I didn't say anything. I was like, "Yeah, I got paid by check." Needless to say, it bounced. I got that guy a sweetheart deal. He bounced every check he wrote to me.
Bastards. That's it. Always in cash, Robert.
Indeed. It was a reminder. Never in writing, always in cash.
I can't imagine all of the law tube in unison, like sighing or in exacerbation. How did this happen? Bad jury instructions, interesting, but they can take a long time to decide the quantum.
I wasn't, as a general rule, some of these will be stereotypes, I know, but as a general rule, I don't like young jurors. They struggle following jury instructions and whatnot. Not enough life experience, and this tends to happen with young jurors. I occasionally play in the World Series of Poker. I'm going to do it one of these years. I thought about this year, but it's always about timing. The reason why I'm going on vacation is originally I had a trial scheduled in June, first 2 weeks of June. And once that case got resolved, then I had some free time. So I was like, I'll find this first vacation I'm taking 4.5 years.
And what do you plan on doing in New Orleans for fun?
I love New Orleans. I mean, it's the home of jazz. It's the home of the best food in America, in my view. The best cocktails in America. Some of the best creations of cocktails was in New Orleans. And so just that. I love the French Quarter.
Oh, they back.
Got a World War.
Oh, Robert. Hold on. Are we in? Wrong one. Here we go.
They're already back?
Oh, boy.
That was quick. Come on, make it 7 figures. At least 7 figures, everybody. But it should be a little scary to you that juries could go back and decide that quickly. Hey, what do you think? 5, 10, 25, 15, 5? Like an auction house.
Does he have a leg to stand on to sue Disney? No, I don't. Did he?
Probably not. Probably not. Those contracts are real vague.
JD loss, trivial next to Sussman win. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, in terms of the justice system, no doubt about that. But it says more about DC than it does about everybody.
Yeah, I think the problem is they revealed stuff in the Sussman trial, but
which is still very valuable.
Yeah, but no one's even
never should have brought the case in DC. If Durham was serious, he would have brought it as a conspiracy case in a place outside of DC. Easily could have done that. He chose not to, knowing the risk.
Mahuyo, rule of acquisition 248. Celebrate when you are paid, not when you are promised.
Yeah, exactly. That pledge, that's now entered into the permanent lexicon. No, I didn't say I would pay you. I pledged that I would pay you. Different.
Look at that. The court reporter. She's come back in the most exciting moment of her entire career. Never has she seen a jury come back, render a verdict.
Real good job of having no expressive throughout the trial. That takes real skill for a court reporter. But at the end, she smiled when she shook Johnny Depp's hand, which kind of told you the deal, what she thought was happening.
50 million schmeckles. It'll be 7 million.
That I just said 7 figures. That was my only prediction. Now that I don't have money on. People were asking what site it was. People sent me the link to the site, and it's the site where you can put money on a range of subjects. Not a ton of it, but some.
I love it. I love the way put money on a range of subjects, also known as gambling, Robert.
Yes, exactly. Investing.
Yeah, we got the golf. The Viva Golf is back. Amber Heard's heart is literally crushed. You can hear it shattering into 1,000 pieces. When will Viva call in on Emily B's stream? I would go anytime. I just don't want to intrude. Emily's doing an amazing solo.
Yeah,
and
she
I don't
likes
want.
to do solos.
Yeah,
she's not a panel person.
And she's a great solo.
Shall we try this again? All right.
Let's try it
Do that.
again.
All right, we're ready for the jury.
Oh my goodness. Okay, shocking lack of alpaca jokes in damages. Okay. Oh. My hands are sweaty for no reason. Is this stream behind? I'm not moving the stream if it's behind, people.
9 million in damage.
With 100. Okay, you know what? We're behind, and I don't know if people now know the decision before we do, Robert, because I might have hit my fat fingers. Might have. Does she look devastated? Does she look? Elaine looks devastated right now.
Yeah.
Are we frozen? Huh? What the? Robert, I'm not playing here. Are we seeing the trial? Okay. Oh, she's crying. Frozen. Okay, I thought I.
That was my prediction. Is that she would cry, but maybe not.
Oh my God! That
Mr.
moment.
Foreperson, is this the verdict of the jury?
When your entire
All right,
life
is it unanimous?
crashes down.
Thank you, sir. Jamie?
Foreperson was a man.
We could probably have the bailiff read it.
In civil case number CL 2019-2911, Mr. Depp's claim against Ms. Heard. 1. As to the statement appearing in the online op-ed entitled, Amber Heard, I spoke up against sexual violence and faced our culture's wrath. That has to change. In the Washington Post online edition, quote, I spoke up against sexual violence and faced our culture's wrath. That has to change, end quote. Do you find that Mr. Depp has proven all the elements of defamation? Answer, yes.
Oh.
Has Mr. Depp proven by a greater weight of the evidence that question, the statement was made or published by Ms. Heard? Answer, yes.
Oh my.
Question, the statement was about Mr. Depp? Answer, yes. Question, the statement was false? Answer, yes.
That vindication of all
the
vindication.
Statement has a defamatory implication about Mr. Depp? Answer, yes. Question, the defamatory implication was designed and intended by Ms. Heard? Answer, yes.
Wow. Full
Question,
vindication.
due to circumstances surrounding the publication of the statement, it conveyed a defamatory implication to someone who saw it other than Mr. Depp? Answer, yes. Do you find that Mr. Depp has proven by clear and convincing evidence that Ms. Heard acted with actual malice?
Oh.
Answer, yes.
Oh my goodness. Oh my.
2.
Get
As
wrecked,
to the
Wyatt.
statement appearing in the op-ed entitled A Transformative Moment for Women in the Washington Post print edition
This is.
and the online op-ed, Amber Heard, I spoke up against sexual violence and faced our culture's wrath. That has to change. In the Washington Post online edition. Quote, then 2 years ago, I became a public figure representing domestic abuse, and I felt the full force of our culture's wrath
Oh
for
my.
women who speak out, end quote. Do you find that Mr. Depp has proven all the elements of defamation? Answer, yes.
Woohoo!
Has Mr.
Wow.
Depp proven by a
Whacked her on
greater weight
that big one.
that
She
question
lied about all of it.
published by Ms. Heard? Answer, yes. Question, the statement was about Mr. Depp? Answer, yes.
She's getting on all of them.
Question,
You know
the
what?
statement
That's
was
right.
false?
You know what Johnny Depp is saying right
Answer,
now?
Yes.
Bring in the cocaine.
Question, the statement has a
I doubt it,
defamatory
Robert.
implication about Mr. Depp?
He's having a mega
Answer,
pint though.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. He's like, I don't want a
Question,
mega
the
pint. I want a
defamatory
mega pint.
implication was designed and intended by Ms. Heard? Answer, yes. Question, due to circumstances surrounding the publication of the statement, it conveyed a defamatory implication to someone who saw it other
Why-
than Mr.
It was a
Depp.
mistake for her to come
Answer,
into the verdict,
yes.
knowing it could be like
Do you
this.
find
Yeah.
that
Because this is
Mr.
what will go
Depp
viral.
has proven by clear and convincing evidence
Them saying
that
you're
Ms.
guilty,
Heard
you're
acted with
guilty,
actual
you're
malice?
guilty, you're guilty, you're
Answer,
guilty,
yes.
you're guilty.
Everything.
3.
Everything, total.
As to the statement appearing in the op-ed entitled "A Transformative Moment for Women" in the Washington
my,
Post
yeah.
print edition and the online op-ed, Amber Heard, I spoke up against sexual violence and faced our culture's wrath. That has to change. In the Washington Post online edition. Quote, I had the rare vantage point of seeing in real time how institutions protect men
Now,
accused
this
of
statement
abuse.
was
End
the
quote.
least defamatory.
Do you find that Mr. Depp has proven all the elements of defamation? Answer, yes.
Wow. There,
Has
she's,
It's
Mr.
just
Depp proven
complete.
by a greater weight
They didn't
of
like her.
evidence
Nope, they're like,
that
she's a
question, the
liar.
statement was made or published by Ms. Heard? Answer, yes. Question,
Who are those
the statement
kids
was
right there?
about Mr. Depp? Answer, yes. Question, the statement was false? Answer, yes. Question, the statement has a defamatory implication about Mr. Depp? Answer, yes.
my gosh.
Question, the defamatory implication.
You know what Camille Vasquez is doing right now?
designed and intended
Right, and those
by
checks,
Ms. Heard.
those checks are going to
Answer,
get bigger.
yes. Question, due to circumstances surrounding the publication of this statement, it conveyed
See,
a
let's see if she
defamatory
cries.
implication to someone who
She's
saw it
trying.
other
She
than Mr.
can't
Depp.
even
I
bring
think she's
herself to do it.
trying.
Answer,
Just like on the
yes.
stand.
Do you find that Mr. Depp has proven by clear and convincing evidence that Ms. Heard acted with actual malice?
Yes.
Answer, yes.
Now, this goes to my
As
point.
against Amber Heard,
I think
we, the
this
jury,
count was weak,
award compensatory
but
damages
they decide on
in
the
the
moral
amount of
narrative.
$10 million.
Yes or no. And
Mhm.
once they go there,
As
it tends to
against
be all
Amber
yeses,
Heard,
all no's. They don't
we,
tend
the
to split the
jury,
baby a lot.
award punitive damages in the amount of $5 million.
She got lucky on the quantum.
In civil case number
How much?
CL
Oh, 5 million.
2019
Ah,
But
2911,
7 figures. Seven.
Ms.
I'm going to be
Heard's
right on
claim
everything.
Against
Ha ha.
Mr. Depp. 1. As to this statement appearing in the April 8, 2020 online edition of the Daily Mail, quote, Amber Heard and her friends in the media use fake sexual violence allegations as both a sword and shield.
Total
depending
vindication
on
for
their
Johnny
needs.
right now.
They have
Completely.
selected some of her sexual violence hoax facts as the sword, inflicting them on the public and Mr. Depp. Do you find that Ms. Heard has proven all the elements of defamation? Answer, no. 2.
Amber, you're a
As to this
liar. It
statement
was a hoax.
appearing in
You're
the
a hoaxer,
April
Amber.
27th,
Unbelievable.
2020 online edition of the Daily Mail. Quote, quite simply, this was an ambush. A
Yeah,
hoax.
mega pints all
They set
around.
Mr. Depp up by calling the cops, but the first
I got my
attempt did not do the trick.
InfoWars mega pint right here.
The officers came to the penthouses, thoroughly searched
I'm
and
done.
interviewed, and left after seeing no damage to face or property.
Mm-hmm.
So Amber and her friends spilled a little wine and roughed the place up, got their story straight under the direction of a lawyer and publicist, and then placed a second call to 911, end quote. Do you find that Ms. Heard has proven all the elements of defamation? Answer, yes. Has Ms. Heard proven by a greater weight of the evidence that question, Mr. Waldman, while acting as an agent for Mr. Depp, made or published the statement? Answer, yes.
Oh, so this is
Question,
for
the
her.
statement was about Ms. Heard. Answer, yes.
Yeah, we knew
Question,
that.
the
It's
statement was
obvious.
seen by someone other than Ms. Heard.
Yes.
Oh,
Answer,
true.
yes.
It was
Question,
defamatory?
The statement was
No.
false.
Nope.
Answer, yes.
Ooh.
No.
Do you
That's what I'm
find that Ms. Heard has proven by clear and convincing evidence that the statement by Mr. Waldman was made with actual malice? Answer, yes.
They found for her on
3.
that count.
As to this statement appearing in the April 27th,
Interesting.
2020
Yeah, that's a little bit of a
online
surprise.
edition of the Daily Mail, quote, we've reached the beginning of the end of Ms. Heard's abuse hoax against Johnny Depp, end
How-
quote.
That's a
Do you
weird.
find that Ms. Heard has proven all the elements of defamation? Answer, no.
Okay.
No. Okay, so they said no.
As against John C. Depp II.
That was a bit
We, the
confusing.
jury, award
Yep.
compensatory damages in the amount of $2 million. As against John C. Depp II, we, the jury, award punitive damages in the amount of $0.
That was
Does
confusing.
either side wish to have the jury polled?
Yes, Your Honor.
Polled, Robert? Oh, they
You
asked.
asked each juror,
If
is this your verdict?
Please
Okay.
answer yes. If this is not your verdict, please answer no. Juror number 6. Juror number 10. Juror number 15. Juror number 16. Juror number 22. Juror number 27. Juror
I was
number
confused there at the
29.
end. Did they find
I do
issue also
find
a
that the
monetary
jury's
judgment
verdict
against
is
Depp?
unanimous. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes your service in this case. I want to thank you again for your dedication and your hard work during this trial. And I know I speak for everybody
Can you
here.
go back a little bit?
When
Yeah,
I appreciate,
I'm going to do that.
tell you that we appreciate your
That was
sacrifices
confusing at the end.
and your time and your public service
Okay,
in this
so-
matter. Okay, so I'm going to have you go back to the jury deliberation room for one more time, and then we'll release you from there. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, wait. Look at Depp's team standing up.
Depp's team's obviously happy.
Yeah, we have to go back and see what exactly happened with the alleged. They said no defamatory statements, even though they said it was wrong and false and about
Yeah,
Amber.
it was confusing.
Okay. Try to hold it in, people. Is that Justin Trudeau on the left? No,
All right.
the young
Okay.
guy.
In accordance with law, I will amend the punitive damages award to the statutory cap of $350,000 on Mr. Depp's award. Okay. I will set this down for entry of an order. And can we do it on June 24th at 10 a.m. if that's available? All right.
Yes,
If
Your
Mr. Chu, if you could prepare that order and then circulate it to Ms. Bretterhoff, and we can have all the objections noted on it. All right. All right, and if I get it before that date, I'll take it off the docket, okay? All right, again, thank you to all the attorneys for your professionalism, and you're welcome to come to my courtroom anytime. Well, give me a few weeks, but then you can come anytime, okay? All right, court is adjourned. Thank you.
Yeah, let's go back because I got confused there.
Hey, right here.
Yes.
Here.
Do you find that Ms. Heard has proven Penhouses thoroughly,
Okay, we're gonna start here.
quote, quite simply, this was an ambush, a hoax. They set Mr. Depp up.
Sorry, a little bit more.
We, the jury, award punitive damages in the amount of $5 million. In civil case number
Okay.
CL 2019.
This is Amber's case against Johnny.
2911, Ms. Heard's claim against Mr. Depp. 1. As to this statement appearing in the April 8, 2020 online edition of the Daily Mail,
How does she
Quote.
get two?
Amber Heard and her friends in the media use fake sexual violence allegations as both a sword and shield, depending on their needs. They have selected some of her sexual violence hoax facts as the sword, inflicting them on the public and Mr. Depp. Do you find that Ms. Heard has proven all the elements of defamation? Answer, no.
Okay.
2. As to this statement appearing in the April 27th, 2020 online edition of the Daily Mail, quote, quite simply, this was an ambush, a hoax. They set Mr. Depp up by calling the cops, but the first attempt did not do the trick. The officers came to the Penhouses, thoroughly searched and interviewed, and left after seeing no damage to face or property. So Amber and her friends spilled a little wine and roughed the place up, got their story straight under the direction of a lawyer and publicist, and then placed a second call to 911, end quote. Do you find that Ms. Heard has proven all the elements of defamation? Answer, yes.
On
Has
that
Ms.
count.
Heard proven by a greater weight of the evidence that question, Mr. Waldman, while acting as an agent for Mr. Depp, made or published the statement? Answer, yes. Question, the statement was about Ms. Heard? Answer, yes. Question, the statement was seen by someone other than Ms. Heard? Answer, yes. Question, the statement was false? Answer, yes. Do you find that Ms. Heard has proven by clear and convincing evidence that the statement by Mr. Waldman was made with actual malice? Answer, yes. 3. As to this statement appearing in the April
So it's
27,
count 2.
2020
They found.
online edition of the Daily Mail, quote, "We've reached the beginning of the end of Miss Heard's abuse hoax against Johnny Depp," end quote. Do you find that Ms. Heard has proven all the elements of defamation? Answer, no.
Okay. So they found on the one
As
count
against
concerning the
John C.
911
Depp
call
II,
and gave
we, the
her
jury,
$2 million for it.
awarded compensatory
They gave him
damages in the
$15
amount
million,
of
but
$2
the
million.
$5 million is capped at
As
$350,000
against
under
John C.
Virginia
Depp
law.
II,
Net
we, the
result,
jury,
$8,350,000 to Johnny.
in the amount of $0.
Big win for Johnny. Small win for
Does
Amber
either
Heard.
side wish to have the jury polled?
I
And
don't
I'm sure
understand.
she'll go out and about and she'll say,
Members of
the
the
jury said that he
if
lied
this
about
is
me
your
for $2 million.
verdict,
Yeah.
Please answer yes.
Skip this. Okay, so here, this is the part we want to see. There's something, I mean, I don't understand how they can.
It's something about the 911 call. They're saying that statement was false by his lawyer. It's that specific thing, which is interesting. They did focus in on that. It makes them look more reasonable as a jury.
Okay, let's see what's going on there.
Johnny Depp is now taking the food out of Amber's baby's mouth that the social media wanted to put her baby in a microwave. She stole that, by the way, apparently from someone else.
She's gonna eat her
Beat her
lawyer.
lawyer's next. Come here, smack. Give you the
So
full
it was-
Amber Heard treatment. Obviously, Johnny Depp's team is pumped. Whoa, there's a lawyer dude with a mullet. That's great. Obviously, they were a real team. for
That's
that thing.
long hair. That's
No, that's a mullet. That's a mullet. That dude's got a mullet. Praise
So
to him. Hey, I like that. He's got a mullet with hair thin and up top, mullet up back. That's how you do it, brother.
I'm having difficulty understanding how they come to defamation for both, especially on that statement was not.
It was
So they-
specific that they think the
a
lawyer
false
got something
911
wrong
call.
about the 911 call,
Yes,
and he did deliberately.
That he did deliberately, and he did it as an agent of Johnny. I mean, that's
Yeah. There's a lot of issues with that. I mean, there's legal. He has good appeal rights on those issues, but bottom line, they found that she lied about who was the abuser. She lied about sexual violence. She lied about Johnny, and that all they got Johnny on is that his lawyer made one miscue, and she owes more than $8 million, probably more than her net worth, to Johnny Depp. Big win
Wow.
for Johnny Depp. Big win. Me Too can be Men Too is a big win for that. And so I think all of that is very good. And this was a reminder of what abuse is like. People should get rid of the gender roles, just treat it as an abuse case. This was an abuse case, and Amber Heard was the abuser. That's all. It's unexpected because of the gender roles, but people get caught up in the gender roles. And this doesn't undermine domestic abuse victims at all, because Johnny Depp got justice for domestic abuse victims in this case.
Well, it's also, I mean, like Camille destroyed it in closing. It's like when playing that audio of Amber telling Johnny he wasn't hit, it wasn't a proper fist, and reverse the genders. There's no way to hear that, reverse the genders, and then not be shocked and appalled. And anyone in the chat here saying that Amber is a real victim, and after having heard that evidence, if you reverse that around and imagine Johnny Depp telling Amber, "You're not a real victim. I didn't really hit you. You're not hit. You've had worse." Well, I mean, I won't finish that sentence.
Now, my guess is that
only if I'm real confident, but in this case,
how did Emily came up immediately after the ET stream?
Hey,
That's
credit
good.
to Emily. She's got in that YouTube algorithm.
She's in it, and my goodness. Okay, well, that is the only the surprising twist. Forgetting the damages, and they went and filled in all those damages that quickly after being told to do it. And here, good point. It was Camille's powerful closing statement. Switch the genders around, and if you put up with that and don't think that is overt abuse and then gaslighting, well, we have different.
No one's
standards.
gonna believe you. Yeah, I hit you. You're a wuss. On and on and on and on. She was a pathological liar, and she got exposed as such on the stand. She was the abuser, and Johnny Depp stood up for himself as a victim of abuse and got vindication and justice as a victim of abuse. And that should not change just because he happens to be a biological male.
So, I suspect, Robert, maybe they didn't forget, maybe they had the quantum already filled out, but they didn't know they had to fill it out on the same form. They had to have had those amounts.
That's what they called a special verdict. I'm not a big fan of it. Special verdicts require juries to answer tons of extra questions. Tends to be more confusing than it is helpful. My view is you just say yes or no defamation, how much? Yes or no defamation, how much? Yes or no. That's it. Keep it simple. Keep it clean. Keep it neat. But Amber Heard got a little bit of something she can talk about, but mostly she got hammered. She got Amber Hearded is but what happened. Amber Heard got the Amber Heard treatment.
How does it work for legal fees, Robert?
It doesn't matter. There's no fees. So in a defamation case, each side bears their own fees. So my guess is Johnny Pitt. Now, he may have a bonus in there if they recover a certain amount they get, but probably not. So also, I don't think she can't bankrupt out the $8.5 million. So she needs to win on. And here's the other thing: in order to appeal, I don't know what the rule is in Virginia. In most states, you have to post bond, which, by the way, usually means like in this case, she would probably have to post about 13-14 million. Usually it's 1.5 times the judgment amount to accommodate interest and risk. And so she doesn't have 12 or 13 million. So she'll probably appeal, but they can probably start, unless it's one of those unique states where you don't have to post bond. Johnny can start collecting right away. So the 2 million, they'll usually in the final judgment, they'll have the 2 million counteracted. So there won't be an ultimate judgment against Johnny. It'll be $8.5 million against Amber Heard. And the only reason for $8.5 million is in Virginia, they limit how much juries can award punitive damages for, which, by the way, I think is unconstitutional, but the Supreme Court greenlit it some years ago.
A woman who goads a man to go ahead and hit her and then claims she was punched when she wasn't punched, but rather slapped, will not elicit sympathy.
Well, yeah, no. I mean, and Me Too has always been true for men, too. That's always been true. This case was just a reminder of that.
What I find, it's just shocking to the point of egregious intellectual dishonesty. People saying this is a travesty because it's going to penalize actual victims. I think no, making false accusations and pretending it can't happen to men undermines actual victims. And this is not a gender-based issue. This is a factual issue. Who was abusing who in this relationship? And anybody who
that's what the case was really about. It was about question number 1 and 2, and he won all the way across the board on both. And they awarded big punitive damages. They awarded none for her. They awarded a bunch for him, which shows you they think she was not only the abuser, she was the liar. That's what the jury found. They heard all the evidence, 6 weeks. They came back and said, Amber Heard is an abuser. Johnny Depp is not. Amber Heard is a liar about the abuse in ways that so shocked them that they awarded a very, very large damages award.
Viva, go read Amber's response on Twitter. Well, let's just do that right now. Now that I bought a few extra minutes until I have to go get the
little ones, the youngins.
Hold on. How do I do this? I'm going to go with is her account.
Do you ever tell the kids, hey, be good, or I might have to go all Amber Heard on you?
No, Robert.
No, of course not.
Oh, here we go. So, what is Amber Heard's? Here we go. Real Amber Heard. She had a pre-draft. She has a lengthy response. Hold on. Share. Have a good vacay, Barnes. Viva. Look at Naples, Florida. Okay. Let's just get this. Hold on. Bring this chat out. Okay, hold on. Amber Heard on Twitter. Share. I'm going to come in here. Take out the super chat.
Obviously, this was pre-draft. She knew she was going to lose right away. Now, sometimes as a client, if a high-profile case, you'll have both drafted. You'll have the celebration drafted. You'll have but clearly, she kind of knew she was going to lose.
Listen, this is Smollett. She's pulling a Smollett, Robert.
You knew it. The disappointment I feel today is beyond words. I'm heartbroken that the mountain of evidence still was not enough to stand up to the disproportionate power, influence, and sway of my ex-husband. I'm even more disappointed with what this verdict means for other women. It is a setback. It sets back the clock to a time when a woman who spoke up and spoke out could be publicly shamed and humiliated. It sets back the idea that violence against women is to be taken seriously. Unless I'm beating up my own girlfriend.
No, I believe Johnny. By the way, you want to talk about a little confession through projection there? It sets back the idea that violence against women is to be taken seriously. No, your argument was that setting back the idea that violence against men can possibly exist by a woman.
Exactly. I believe Johnny's attorney succeeded in getting the jury. By the way, this is a sign of my attorneys suck. I'm going to go beat them up now. Succeeded in getting to the jury to overlook the key issue of freedom of speech, capitalized freedom and capitalized speech, and ignore evidence that was so conclusive that we won in the UK.
That we won in the UK.
Interesting. I'm sad that I lost the case, but I'm sadder still that I still have to, I seem to have lost a right I thought I had as an American to speak freely and openly.
Oh, pathological.
And I am a hopeless liar.
With little hearts there.
Couple of hearts.
And who can reply? Not everybody. She's complaining about freedom of speech and controlling replies. Well played, Amber. All right. Well, Robert, I'm glad we shared this moment together.
There we go.
We have a good sidebar tonight. Everyone, Dinesh D'Souza.
Rumble exclusive.
Yeah, we're gonna do 15 minutes here, push the crowd over, have an open discussion. Here, let's read a few super chats actually before we go. Sorry, the male-female strength and power differential is as big in a marriage as it is in a swim set.
In a swim meet?
Swim meet. What am I saying?
Yeah, and it's definitely true in terms of physical violence and sexual violence is disproportionately male in terms of how threatening it is and impactful it is. Not true about emotional abuse. Emotional abuse actually slightly more often committed by women than committed by men. Now, physical violence itself is often done as often by women as it is by men. But when women commit physical violence in an intimate relationship, it's not perceived as threatening because of the strength gap. And so, but what's always been true is abusive behavior, once you understand its broader context, is neither male nor female. It's psychologically rooted. In my view, it's rooted in a history of being a victim of abuse, unfortunately. If you get inside an abuser's mind, you don't become quickly morally judgmental. You become sad at how tortured their mind is. And you want never to be in their mind. People kind of imagine this as being easily white, black, good, evil, moral. It's harder to draw that judgment when you're inside their head. These are tortured minds, but tortured minds do terrible things. And that's what Amber Heard did. And she lied about him, and she lied about Johnny Depp, ruined his career, or at least damaged it severely, and piggybacked off the Me Too movement, hijacked it for her personal, political, professional interest, and helped show the problems of the excesses of a Me Too movement that made it only about women. Me Too can happen to men too. That has always been true. That is still true. And Johnny Depp stood up against abusers anywhere and everywhere. And just because he's a man, we should not forget that.
Robert, stupid question. Maybe it's not so stupid. She literally just made another statement along the same lines as the ones for which she was just found guilty of defamation. Do you sue them? Can she make that statement now?
I mean, she's always at risk for those statements. More suits being brought. I mean, I don't think he will. He's got what he's got. He won what he set out to do. He achieved. He won in the court of public opinion. He won in the court of law, and he won a very big verdict. That was a clear. It's pushing back on the excesses of the Me Too movement, and recognizing Me Too can happen to men too. It is not as gendered as some tried to make it out to be. Some used it as a power grab. It's always about, like, some people ask me, why would women or anyone lie about rape, lie about sexual assault, lie about abuse? Because it's power. Everything is power. There's power in the accusation as much as there's power in abuse. It's all about power. And so she misused and abused that power at every level. She abused him, then lied and claimed he was the abuser, which was another form of abuse, which happens all the time. And just because Johnny Depp has some money and has some notoriety, that isn't why he won. He won because the only reason why the lies worked was because he was rich and famous. If he wasn't, the lies, no one would have cared about the lies. Mm-hmm. He won because the facts were on his side. Because Amber Heard is a liar. Everybody could see it when she testified. And it was clear who was the abuse because of the tapes. That was the evidence she could never get around. Those tapes, you listen to those tapes, you don't hear Johnny Depp as an abuser. You hear Amber Heard's the abuser. And just because one's a woman and one's a male should not change the nature of abuse. And hopefully this will help us understand abuse better. It's not about patriarchy. It's not about feminism. It's not about gender. Abuse is just about abuse that can happen by anybody to anybody. Gender is just, not a factor. Race, not a factor. Culture, not a factor. Abuse is a psychological, power-driven psychosis, should be seen as such, recognized as such, understood as such, and judged as such. And thanks to Johnny Depp for doing it. I think Johnny Depp has done as much for abuse victims as anybody, because there's a lot of people out there that may think I could never go forward, that, hey, if Johnny Depp did it knowing it would be another round of public humiliation, knowing it would be another round of her attacking and defaming him even more, of her making up even more claims. Knew that going in. Still did it because he wanted to achieve justice for himself. But in the process, let everyone know, if you are the victim of abuse, don't let cultural stereotypes deter you from exposing that abuse and standing up for yourself.
People are saying Johnny Depp issued a public statement. I can't find it right now, but I'll go find it afterwards and share it around. Well, this has been a journey.
It has.
Okay, chat. I mean, if you want to go, people are going to be talking about it for the rest of the evening, so go listen to them. But at 7 o'clock, come right back here. We're going to be live with Dinesh D'Souza, 2,000 Mules,
talking
bunch
about
of stuff.
Election fornication.
It is going to be the 5-letter F word when it comes to the elections. 7 o'clock, people. Robert,
yep.
I'll see you soon.
And as always, everybody, next time, bet with Barnes.
God, I don't like betting on these things, but my goodness, I've been following you to know that you're right. Always bet on Barnes. People, will see you in T-minus 3 hours.